On today's episode of Outside the Brand, we got news on Elias, and Asuka. Also, we talk some WWE 2K22 news as we are only about a week away from its launch date on, technically March 11th, and then for early access on March 8th. Also, we talk AEW Revolution 2022. Could this be one of the biggest pay-per-views in AEW history? All of this and much more happening right now on Outside the Brand. We'll see you in just a second. What is going on, guys? Thank you so much for joining us right here on Outside the Brand. I am your host, Phil, and of course, this is OTB. I am here with my boy, Anthony Murray. Tonight, what's going on, my man? How are you?
It's pretty good. I haven't been on for a few weeks, so it's good to come back on and talk wrestling with you.
All right, man. We are here on episode 146. We got some news on a couple of WWE superstars. We all know AEW Revolution 2022 is, of course, this Sunday on pay-per-view, and WWE 2K22 is out in about a week or so. Early access, it actually happens next Tuesday on March 8th, and for those who don't get the deluxe or NWO edition, you guys can get it on March 11th. It's going to be a pretty busy 2 weeks here on in the world of professional wrestling. So I think we'll be okay for the time being when it comes to stuff to do. Okay. I thought you were going to speak about it, but yeah.
No, I'm excited to talk some of this stuff. 2K has been, for better or worse, has been having quite a lot of things in the news as to what to expect. And I know I've been checking out some of your stuff from like GM mode and whatnot. So, and I think they just released, I guess it looks like a story mode that they're going to have. I didn't really check out the trailer too much, but it looks like some kind of story mode that they're going to have. So it should be quite interesting.
It's called My Rise, and it's pretty much their take on a newer version of My Career when they did My Career earlier on in the series. We all know in other 2K games like NBA and other platforms that they use for the 2K series, they always have these My Careers, but they rebranded it as My Rise, and they actually put the WWE 2K Showcase and the My Rise trailer all on the WWE 2K official YouTube channel. I can't show it here because it's obviously copywritten, and you guys can obviously see it over there on the actual 2K channel. But they rebranded it as My Rise, and you guys can either play as a female or a male counterpart in this mode. It's not like last year's where it was like two superstars, a male and a female, conjoined together. You can either play as a male or a female, no matter what you want to do. So it should be okay. But at the end of the day, we got that to take care of. We got AEW Revolution 2022 to talk about. It happens this Sunday. Could be one of the biggest pay-per-views in AEW history, at least on paper. That card looks absolutely stacked. We will be doing an AEW Revolution 2022 prediction show a day before the event on Saturday. But man, it looks like a great card, man. It really does.
Definitely. I'm very kind of wondering what they're going to do exactly. I know that people have been discussing what the main event should be, what they think. I know there's a lot of traditionalists who think that the championship match between Adam Cole and Hangman Page should be going on last just because it's for the title. Right. But I'm definitely one of those people that will, go to the, I think that the match between MJF and CM Punk is going to be outshadowing that if it goes on before the the title match. I think they're going to exhaust that crowd. So either, I think one of them definitely needs to. I think MJF and Hangman, or not Hangman, CM Punk needs to be the main event. I think that'll be the one that everybody wants to see anyway. So,
right. For me personally, I would want to see MJF and CM Punk main event. Nothing against Adam Cole and nothing against Hangman at all. Those two are great athletes. They're going to have a great match for the AEW World Championship. But when you're talking about story and when you're talking about how long everything's been going on, MJF and CM Punk seems like the more important match. And it just seems like it has a lot more. It doesn't have a lot more at stake considering the AEW World Championship is on the line in that other matchup between Adam Page and Adam Cole. But whoever really wins this match between CM Punk and MJF could possibly be in line for that next AEW World Championship opportunity at Double or Nothing. So there's a lot riding on all of that, and you can honestly make great arguments for both matches being the main event. Whatever happens at AEW Double or Nothing, though, and speaking of, let's say, the women, for example, because we all know both Owen Hart Cup tournaments are going to culminate at Double or Nothing this year.
True. That's true. I forgot about that.
Yeah, so maybe they get an opportunity at the World Championships for men and women for the winner of that tournament. Maybe they don't. Maybe they obviously get the Owen Cup, but we got to see if there's something more to that. For me personally, if it's not going to be the women main eventing this pay-per-view between Thunder and Britt Baker, I would love to see Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker just main event Double or Nothing, let's say inside a steel cage. I don't know, Tony, you're listening to me. Come on, I'm Phil Khan for a reason. I think Britt Baker versus Thunder Rosa inside a steel cage would honestly dominate in that Double or Nothing main event if Thunder does not win at Revolution. But man, this is going to be a fantastic card from top to bottom, and those are only just 3 matches we talked about. And there's so much more. Punk and MJF, the two Adam Cole and Adam Page, Britt and Thunder, Danielson and Moxley. There's so much on this card that people can sink their teeth in.
Yeah, the ladder match, that one's going to be insane just because you've got some, guys who I think definitely are heading up there, like Ricky Stark and Powerhouse Hobbs, like guys who are kind of up and coming and who really need a chance to shine. Plus you got Keith Lee, who's a powerhouse, and he's going to be throwing people around in there. So,
Wardlow.
Yeah. You just, not to mention the fact that you got that 3-way tag for the titles, and we're still learning who exactly is going to be on that. So
next week at Daily's Place, we have a battle royal to determine that final spot. So
yeah, and something that I saw that was very interesting was that this is going to be the first, I guess, AEW pay-per-view that's never had Kenny Omega in it.
Yeah.
So that'll be really interesting. And then I believe they said that if the Young Bucks don't win this match to get to the pay-per-view, this will be the first pay-per-view without them too. So definitely really interesting to see the fact that no one from the Elite is going to potentially be in this pay-per-view for the very first time. So it really kind of shows a changing of the guard a little bit, which is nice to see.
Which is good. Yeah, I honestly love that if that is the case. We do not know the participants of this Casino Battle Royal just yet. As we all know, the Casino Battle Royals are completely different than normal tag team battle royals. Obviously, you have the suits, the 4 suits and everything, and they just come in at their allotted time. And obviously, whoever wins the battle royal wins the battle royal. But you have to have both participants of that tag team be eliminated, not just one. So it's going to be an interesting time to see who actually qualifies for the final spot at Revolution for that triple threat tag team match. I was going to say trios, but that's that's pretty much a 6-man tag. But at the end of the day, we have that to go over and so much more here on Outside the Brand. You guys can follow us all on social medias. All our TikTok links are down in the description below. You guys can follow Anthony. You guys can plug your TikTok real quick, and anything else you want to plug real quick.
Yeah, sure. My TikTok is Heel Anthony. Went through a rebrand about a month or so ago. It's kind of funny now because everybody is calling me that, and I'm getting used to hearing that now. But yeah, if you like wrestling content, I put out opinion pieces. I do horror content every now and again. I'm starting to do that a little bit more, but it's primarily pro wrestling based. I try to make funny pieces now and again. So, using popular sounds, but, I make random content sometimes. So, but if you want to check me out, yeah.
So there you go. You guys can follow all of us on the social media. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at @BillWayMatt_, just like my TikTok name. You guys can go get the merch. Bonfire.com is the exclusive home of Outside the Brand and its merchandise. You guys can go get T-shirts, hoodies. You guys can have, if for your coffee lovers out there, you guys can get Outside the Brand mugs. We got mugs up there now, and this pandemic is still a thing. People, protect yourself. We got OTB face masks on the bonfire.com website for you guys to enjoy. It's going to be a lot of fun. Getting a lot more designs up there just for you guys to enjoy. And yeah, man, you guys can go get your T-shirts or hoodies at bonfire.com, the exclusive home of Outside the Brand and its merchandise. Guys, before we get into the news and festivities of today's show, and Olaf will be joining us here in just a little bit. You guys have been killing it here on Outside the Brand lately, coming here each and every single day whenever we are live here on Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Fridays, and sometimes even during the weekends. We are going to be talking about all this stuff and more. We're going to be talking about tomorrow's episode of AEW Dynamite, as well as Tony Khan has a major announcement to pretty much present to us. I don't know what that entails. Trust me, if I knew, I would tell you. He did tell us that it's not going to be a debut. So we're not going to have another debut on this week's episode of Dynamite, but he does have a major announcement. People are saying that he purchased Ring of Honor. I highly doubt that. I understand where they're coming from because Ring of Honor had the trademark for All In. So if they want to actually do another All In pay-per-view, they'd have to go through Ring of Honor just to get that. But I highly doubt that they bought Ring of Honor. And if they did, I'll be very pleasantly surprised. But yeah, I mean, Tony Khan has this major announcement. We'll find out on Wednesday. It's going to be something special for sure. I know that.
Yeah, no, I'm kind of curious as to what it's going to be. I've heard the Ring of Honor thing. But I kind of highly doubt that just because of the fact that they are already promoting a show for April. And whatnot. Plus, they have their world championship. There has been floating around the Indies in matches and in Impact right now. So I don't see that being a thing. What I think it might be, as a prediction, I think it might just be more of a potential super show since they're getting Jay White involved from New Japan. I think it might be more of a bigger partnership with them. Okay. Just because I know, New Japan has been trying to get into the States a little bit more. I know they tried doing that a while back when AEW was somewhat picking up a little bit of traction, but, they haven't really been doing it since the pandemic. So I think that'd be a really cool idea, especially with Jay White kind of being like the first person to come in. I would love to see somewhat of a collaboration with them. Hopefully it might be better than the Impact one, but, we'd have to see.
Yeah. I mean, that would be really cool. I mean, we all know the reason why Jay White's over here really in the States. He was a part of the Battle of Los Angeles event that was happening, and while he was a part of that, restrictions kind of, doubled down here in the United States, and he obviously could not go back to Japan, like to actually be a part of the actual New Japan shows, all the way across all the way over there across the lands. But yeah, he's been stuck here in the States because of travel restrictions. But while he's here, why not do some stuff with Impact? Why not do some stuff with AEW? He's not fully contracted with them because obviously he signed a 7-year extension with New Japan a couple of weeks ago. And by the way, good on him. Good on him for getting a 7-year contract extension. And the kid's maybe in his mid to like maybe upper 20s. I mean, this guy is going to be fantastic wherever he goes next. But a 7-year contract extension for him in New Japan. Why not work with other promotions just to continue to get your feet wet and honestly learn the American crowd? Because who knows? Because with people like him coming to the States, it could honestly open the doors for like a New Japan partnership or something like that. So it's honestly a really good idea.
Yeah, no, and I think it would be good just because he's a good representative for the company anyway, because I mean, especially with his Impact stuff, people know who he is to some degree who are in the pro wrestling world. And not a knock on New Japan, but New Japan has lost a lot of relevancy since losing guys like Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks and, the people that were a part of that company for a while, and so I don't ever hear anything about really New Japan anymore. So
Yeah.
having a partnership like that would at least bring some relevancy to them right now, and it would maybe be a potential to get some of their stars to go against AEW guys and get some national television on there. I don't think it wouldn't benefit them, or I don't think it wouldn't hurt them to do that. So
I know Kenta's been wanting to get a piece of CM Punk as of late. I know obviously Bryan Danielson's been wanting to get a piece of a plethora of New Japan talent before he does officially hang up the boots. I know people would say again, but trust me, that whole retirement for Bryan, that was a totally different ideal. But I mean, yeah, this could open the door for a ton of opportunities for not only New Japan, but for AEW as well. And just think of it, man, AEW is only 3 years old. AEW is only 3 years old, and we're getting kind of stuff like this. Listen, we're all just here for the ride at this point because it's just going to be fantastic, and it's a great time to be a pro wrestling fan. That's all you can really say.
Oh no, it definitely is. And to answer your question, Josh, as to why WWE doesn't want to work with other promotions, it's not that they don't. They have in the past. Like I know that they've worked with NWA for a while. Back in like the late 90s, they had like an NWA invasion. They had the world title on there back when they weren't as relevant after the ECW events that happened. They've worked with Japan and AAA back in the day.
They try to work with Evolve over the past, I believe, couple of years.
They've worked with, they're willing to work with other companies, but here's the problem is that a lot of there was the potential that Bryan was going to kind of be the gate to having a relationship with New Japan. And I think what's hard about relationships like that is people know what WWE tries to do, and they always have a reason for wanting to do things, and that's to make money, and that's to get their foot into other markets. So with like Japan, I think if I remember right, they wanted to open up an NXT and a developmental center out in Japan, kind of like what they did with UK, with NXT UK. And while that's a good idea, unfortunately, what they end up doing is they end up ruining any of the other independent promotions that are out there, and WWE is the only game in that town now. So I think a lot of companies get really worried when they want to work with WWE because it's great exposure, and it's the biggest company in the world for professional wrestling, but it also comes at a price. Like look at some of the companies that like Evolve and other companies that worked with WWE that are no longer around because they got bought out.
Yeah,
So
Evolve is no longer a thing anymore. They got bought out, and WWE has all the rights to the video archives and everything, and they can use that. And I mean, like you go on Peacock right now, there's I believe at least 3 to 5 playlists of guys like Keith Lee, I believe Karrion Kross, and many others that have Evolve playlists on the actual Peacock for WWE's part of the channel, because they bought that archive and they own that now, and Evolve is no longer a thing. So it, in other words, and like Anthony said, he actually worded it very gracefully and beautifully, but in short words, WWE doesn't like playing well with others unless it involves unless it only works out in their favor. Let's just say that. They tried their best. They even got Mickie James for the Royal Rumble. And did that really help out Impact in a way? No, it didn't. Not at all.
yeah,
she got to have the Impact Championship with her, and she actually walked out with the championship. She actually walked out the hardcore country, which I was very shocked about, by the way. But she lasted for like what, maybe 10-12 minutes, and then she was gone. Like it was that, and then that was it.
Not to mention
no other surprises.
Oh yeah, not to mention the fact that, like, from what I could tell, she wasn't allowed to use certain words to describe her. So like when you look at like what they described her as the Impact Knockouts champion. They weren't allowed to use women's champion, for I think they weren't allowed to use like certain words, which is already limiting her as it is. But one of the things I was really surprised that no one talked about when it came to her coming out, I think because of the fact that they were so mystified at the fact that, well, one, her music, and two, the fact that she came out with another company's title. One of the things that always bothered me when watching back at her, coming out to the ring, besides like the thing with Michelle McCool, no one else seemed to like acknowledge her. Like they didn't make her out to be like a big threat. And I'm just like, what a way to make her out to be like nothing. You know what I mean? Like at least when like a guy like Edge came out, all of them looked at him and were like mystified that he was there. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like he looked like, wow, okay, this is a threat. No one else was caring. They were all just beating each other up. So they were completely ignoring her. And so I'm just like, that just shows what WWE thinks of outside people.
Right, yeah, and especially with the way that WWE treated her over the course of her letting go process, and yeah, that was well, the whole trash bag incident was a disgusting display of how they really thought about her, and honestly, that was WWE's fault, but there was somebody at the helm of that, and they're no longer in the company anymore, thank God. I mean, I can say his name. He didn't really do anything to my knowledge. I don't think he really did anything else to that extent. But Mark Carrano is no longer there anymore, in WWE. So, and yes, that was one of the. That was one of the points to have Mickie James come back, is that she wanted Mark gone, so that she didn't even have to face him. And WWE did oblige that, so I at least give them credit for that. But other than that, they gave her 10, 12 minutes tops, and nothing really happened of that. And this forbidden door between AEW and Impact was never even a thing. It was not a forbidden door.
So, no, it wasn't. And when we really look at it, really Impact, yeah, they got a little bit of a rub when it came to having like Kenny Omega on their show. But in my opinion, that was just to give him a title and make him look good, because he was like really the only AEW guy besides later on Christian who would come over there. And we never really got any Impact guys that came over to AEW. The only ones that did that were the Good Brothers, and literally like they were just in the background. They never had any relevancy. I think there was a running gag going around of how Adam Cole never acknowledged them whatsoever when he came over.
Right, yeah. He really didn't.
But I mean, that's how it is, and I think if you're going to have companies come over and bring their people, it should be one, interchangeable with both of the companies. It shouldn't just be, well, let me have people come over to this show and not that one. But, make them all look credible, make them look like they're top people, like why we should go over and try to watch New Japan or Impact,
Make it mean something.
Exactly.
So, so yeah, guys, that's just a little taste of what we are going to be doing right here on OTB episode 146. We're going to get started really soon. You guys already know the deal. Josh, you're already in here killing it. Buy the merch or else it's not really that serious, but you're good. Thank you so much. Give the video a like or else. I want 10 likes minimum on this stream tonight. That would be absolutely fantastic. And subscribe to OTB right here on the channel. We would love to get to 400 subscribers by WrestleMania. That would be absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much. And we got Saul in here. We got Saul in the chat. What's going on, my man? How are you? We're here for OTB episode 146. All right, guys, let's get right into the news here on OTB 146. We got news on Elias, Asuka, and Xia Li. We're going to talk about this Xia Li situation first because it is the first as soon as I opened up this webpage, Xia Li popped up. News on why Xia Li's in-ring debut took so long. As we all know, Xia Li made her in-ring debut, was it 2 Fridays ago? Or last Friday? Let's see. The previous episode of Friday Night SmackDown, and this article was written on the 28th. So yeah. So yeah. So just on Friday, this past Friday. So Xia Li made headlines after being the first Chinese talent to join WWE a few years ago. Xia Li worked in NXT, where she became one of the mainstays of the women's division. It seems there was a good reason for her delayed in-ring debut. In preparation for Xia Li's debut on the main roster, WWE started airing vignettes about Xia Li, familiarizing fans with her before Li making her debut, which they always do. They always do that kind of a thing. These vignettes featured comic book style storytelling for fans to grab onto, and fans seemingly seemed to enjoy them. I kind of thought it was a little bit cheesy, but that's neither here or there. Xia finally made her debut on this past episode of Friday Night SmackDown, where she saved. Oh wait, no. This was like maybe a couple of weeks ago when she saved Naomi from from Shayna Baszler and Sonya Deville.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was a couple of weeks ago, or at least a few weeks ago up at that point. Many fans simply loved Li's debut as well. However, Li only made her in-ring debut last week, where she defeated Natalya in a singles match on Friday Night SmackDown. According to a report on Fightful Select, Xia Li's in-ring debut took so long because WWE creative simply had nothing planned for her. Big shocker. WWE, well, no, we will have to wait and see how Xia Li will fare on Friday Night SmackDown, as fans were already impressed by her long before her in-ring debut. Xia Li then tweeted out after her debut, "Don't mess with Xia," and yeah, that was the end of the actual article. It just says, "What do you think of the story?" Sound off in the comments. WWE had nothing planned for Xia Li. Honestly, what a shocker. That doesn't surprise me at all. Usually when it comes to stuff like this, they always try to air these video packages just as long as possible until they finally just give up and they say, all right, let's just throw her out there, see what happens. And that's exactly what they did on Friday against Natalia.
Yeah, I mean, I think vignettes are a good kind of prelude to hyping somebody up. I mean, it's definitely, it can come at a really good like thing to hype somebody up. The only bad thing is if the debut's lackluster, then the vignettes are kind of worthless. Or if you constantly are just doing vignettes and like whatnot.
Right.
I think you can do maybe a month of vignettes to hype somebody up and be like, you know, make their actual debut something that people want to see. But like when you're reaching Veer status of like constantly like saying, "Oh, they're coming," like no one's gonna care. And I'm at this point where I think Veer is just a meme now. Like they like
Yeah.
WWE is just they think it's funny too, so they're gonna keep it going. Like if he doesn't debut next week, he will have broken Emelina in terms of like vignettes before having a debut, which is
Oh my
just
gosh,
insane.
Emma, when she was doing the Emelina stuff.
Yeah, you
Oh my
remember that?
gosh, yeah, I remember
Yeah.
that now. Yeah. That was so long. She
Like
took so long before she actually happened.
yeah, and the debut was lackluster, you know.
Yeah.
Um, you know, they can hype somebody up, but if they don't have anything planned for them, it's kind of one of those things where it's like, what are you going to do? Because yeah,
Yeah.
you can have vignettes that can do a month, and then you can have like maybe a month to like 6 weeks of like jobber type, you know, like local talent for a few weeks, and then have like, you know, some lower tier like jobber type people. But eventually you're going to have to start putting them up against credible threats, you know, and you got to have somewhat of a plan for them. And if they're hyping her up to be like this unstoppable person, like, you know, like how they used to build Asuka back in NXT, you got to know, you got to have somewhat of a plan for her,
Right.
you know, and with the roster already being as small as it is in the women's division, and I know she's on SmackDown, which is great because that's the division to be on if you're going to be on the main roster. But you got to have somewhat of a plan. Like, is she going to go against Charlotte at some point? You know, so when you have nothing for her, there's really no point in having these vignettes. You know, you might as well just not have her even debut. You know, until you have something for her. But
Right. Listen, guys, if you're legitimately wondering where your current favorite superstar in this company is right now that is just not being used, you can legitimately go right back to this article and pretty much use the exact same phrasing that this article used right here. WWE just simply has no plans for them. And it's a shame. It really is, but that's kind of what you all honestly all have to just kind of just fall back to. They just don't have any plans for them. If you're not Roman, the Uso, or not even technically the Usos at this point, if you're not any of the big four people like Roman, Brock, Becky, Charlotte, or heck, even Ronda, I can even count Ronda, the big five. They don't have any plans for you. They really don't. So it sucks, and I feel the thing is I just feel like if this whole thing with Xia Li continues on to a point to where they just don't have any plans for her, they're just simply not going to use her. They're just simply not going to use her, and then what'll happen come after WrestleMania when we have the annual budget cuts happen? I'm not going to be shocked if Xia Li is going to be on that list. And that sucks to say. I would never want anybody to lose their job. But if they just simply don't use her because of nothing being planned for her, I just see it. I just see her name being on that list, and that sucks.
yeah, and I think one of the biggest problems with WWE's creative is just not having people experienced in pro wrestling.
Right.
I think that is one of the biggest issues because, I mean, if we look at something like AEW, and we look at, even if we just look at some of the matches that are on Revolution, those aren't built necessarily around a title. Like, yeah, you have title matches. You have like, the tag titles and you have like the heavyweight title, but you have a lot of these that are not based around like a championship, which I feel like WWE is just always doing now. Like, it's hard for them to have matches where the rivalry is just because they want to see who's the better person or they have like some other reason. Like with the MJF and Punk feud, it's all about like, I'm better than you, and there's history there and stuff like that. The only one that I'm seeing that they're going to start doing that with is Edge and AJ. And I'm kind of curious how that's going to go. But their booking lately has just been like, okay, who's going to go for the title next? Or who's going to do this and that? And while that's fine, I think like you need to have other people fighting for stuff, even if it's for some dumb reason. Like, I mean, we look back at like the early 2000s and they were fighting for dumb reasons. I mean, Kane and Jericho got into a feud over a cup of coffee that got spilled on them. Like, yeah, it was dumb, but it was a reason. Or Booker T and Edge had a match at Mania over who got to be in a shampoo commercial. Like, yeah, it was dumb, but like it was another reason to have a match and a feud going, like have more creativity to see like why these people would face each other in matches as opposed to just going for the title,
Yeah. But yeah, it doesn't shock me a single bit that WWE had no plans for her up until this point. Honestly, I still don't even think they have any plans for her. They just needed to put her on TV because enough was enough. Everybody was just sick and tired of just seeing these vignettes. We just need to see her now on TV to see what she does. And she's known as the protector. I don't know what she's protecting. I don't know what's happening with that whole gimmick right now, but she's gonna be trying to protect her spot on this roster if WWE simply just does not have something for her, and that just sucks to say, but that's the only thing that she will have to protect if things are just not going to go in her favor and just much longer. So though that's the latest on Xia Li. We got some more news on some other WWE superstars such as Asuka and the man that pretty much says that WWE stands for this man and Walk with Elias. We got Elias news as well, but we are going to be talking about we'll talk about Elias last before we get into some WWE 2K and obviously some AEW Revolution discussion. This is some news on Asuka. As we all know, Asuka, to be completely fair with you, I forgot when she kind of just went off television. I know she was injured, but I forget where she was injured at some point. But yeah, here's the actual article that states this. And the title of the article, get ready for this, because we kind of heard this before. WWE has no creative direction for Asuka's return. Great. Asuka has not been appearing on WWE, has not appeared in a WWE ring for quite some time. The Japanese superstar has been a fan favorite since she arrived in NXT. Asuka has teased and titillated fans with the idea that she will be coming back very soon. The WWE Universe has been wondering why they're just not seeing Asuka on their television screens as of late. Rumors came and went about Asuka making her return at the Royal Rumble. That obviously did not happen. When that did not happen, the rumors then became clear that Asuka would be the final entrant in the Women's Elimination Chamber match. That did not happen. The spot was taken by Alexa Bliss, and Asuka did not appear on the show. News then came about that she was actually going to be debuting at not debuting, but pretty much returning at the end of February. That obviously did not happen now because it is March 1st. News has been sparse about Asuka's status in WWE. The reason for her absence has now been reported. Mike Johnson, a PW insider, noted that when asked about Asuka's return to WWE, that WWE simply has nothing for her creatively. Quote, nothing yet. The hope internally was Asuka to return this month, but obviously there's been nothing for her creatively. Other than hearing from fans who spotted her in Los Angeles recently, we haven't heard anything additional on the Asuka front, end quote. With WrestleMania 38 just around the corner, many have been hoping that for Asuka to have a storyline and a match on the show. It shows, as of now, it appears that there is nothing out there for her. Asuka will have to continue waiting as WWE looks for a way to use her. The rumors about Asuka's return will continue to fly until it just inevitably happens. WWE has promised a lot of major surprises at WrestleMania. So far, none of them are planning to include Asuka. Just point is, this sucks. Asuka's been ready to come back for months. I saw somebody in the comments of this chat earlier saying Asuka's injured. Get your facts straight, Sam. I'm sorry to say this, but Asuka has been she's been fine for months. She's recovered from her injury. To be completely fair, I forgot what the injury was, whether it was a shoulder or a knee, what have you.
It says that she got injured. She got injured back in because she hasn't wrestled since Money in the Bank.
Right. Yeah.
July last year. It was a shoulder injury, but by this point, she should be fine.
Yeah, she's been fine for months. WWE just simply, like this article said, has nothing planned for her. And the thing is, again, like I said with Xia Li, it sucks because she's one of the greatest women on that roster for wrestling purposes. Like she's one of the best they got.
No, and exactly, she is one of the top women. Besides your Beckys and besides your Charlottes, she is really, really like top tier in terms of the women. And I think that, if you want to have her wait until, the Raw after Mania, that's fine. Because, obviously with Mania, you have your storylines already pretty much ready. It's not like maybe they don't have plans for her. Maybe they just want to wait until after they clear that slate. Because after Mania, most of the storylines get kind of cleared anyway, for the most part. And then
the Raw after WrestleMania counts as like New Year's Day for me. Like that's like their New Year's Day where pretty much the year resets and it's all good.
And they always get like really cool like moments and returns coming that day anyway. So if you want to have a return on that, that's cool.
I'd save Asuka's return for the Raw after WrestleMania because the Raw after WrestleMania hasn't felt like the Raw after WrestleMania in a couple of years. You have to have something saved for it. So if you want to save Asuka for it, that's okay. But at least have a plan for her when she does get back.
What I think would be a really cool way of bringing her back in, if you don't want to get her in the title picture right now and you just kind of want her to get her steam back a little bit, especially because she's not coming back at like something like the Royal Rumble or like Elimination Chamber. We just talked about Xia Li. Not really having anything to do, have her just squash a bunch of people, make her look like a crazy threat and then have, Asuka come back and be like, look, I was the top dog when I left. You seem to be the top dog. Let's go and duke it out. And you can have something going on for a while.
I love the Xia Asuka match. Honestly, Asuka, for me, I'd rather have her return to Friday Night SmackDown. I'd rather have her on SmackDown because that's honestly where, like you said earlier, that's the women's division that honestly kind of needs a star power like that. And then obviously, we're not really talking about Bayley, but Bayley's kind of in the same boat. for injured superstars that are just obviously still ready and they can obviously be slotted in at any point in time. Bayley, I need her to return to Monday Night Raw. She doesn't need to be on Friday Night SmackDown. Mainly because, well, it not only just has 2 and 2 for the 4 Horsewomen on both shows, but you don't need to have Sasha and Bayley go at it again because we've seen that countless times. And we honestly don't need to see Charlotte and Bayley again. So I'd love to see a Becky Bayley match. That would be great. I wanted Bayley to return in the Royal Rumble so bad. And I honestly had she was one of my 3 picks to win it, but then obviously when that didn't happen. I was kind of sad, but go ahead. Sorry.
I think that Bayley's going to come back just because she's been gone for so long, and fans are going to want to see her.
She's been teasing it so much on her Instagram story.
I can see her coming back as a face, and if you're going to have her come back as a face and get her in the main event picture, I mean, you got Becky being a heel right now anyway. Why not have her go against that? I think that'd be a great way for her to come back. I would love to see that match. I would love to see a heel Becky versus face Bayley match. Especially because I think they've had the dynamic switched before, so I would love to see it the other way around. So I think that would be great. But yeah, going back to Asuka, it's really sad that somebody who was such a powerhouse in NXT and then got a bit watered down by the time she ended up going to the main roster. Don't get me wrong. I love Asuka and I think that she's very entertaining, but one of the biggest things I can remember her doing is the Money in the Bank match, the cinematic one. And she's just, like running around, just like spazzing out. And I'm just like, what is this? This isn't the powerhouse undefeated NXT superstar that I remember, not that she couldn't be comedic and funny, but it was just one of those things where it was so polar opposite of what her character was that I enjoyed seeing. And I'm supposed to believe this person is going to be like the next champion. It was kind of a little off to me, but
100% agree.
But yeah, no, I really hope that they can find something for Asuka to do, because I think that she can have a great match with almost anybody, and have her go back to that undefeated, like incredible badass character that she was, because that fits her character so well.
Yeah, this is. We'll see what happens. Asuka, wherever she returns, hopefully SmackDown for me. But yeah, this is just gonna have to be another wait and see type of approach. And I know everybody wants instant gratification when it comes to professional wrestling, but until WWE just has something planned for Asuka, and we're all just gonna have to just sit there and hopefully just try to do things in her absence. What really irks me though is they also got women like Rhea Ripley, Alexa Bliss, Nikki, and heck, even Dana Brooke, all at least having something. Alexa obviously just came back during the Elimination Chamber, but they have those guys, those women rather, actually at least have something. And even Dana Brooke, for instance, they all have something to do, and Asuka's just sitting there at home in Las Vegas, just waiting for the call. I mean, that to me is just blasphemy. But
yeah, no, it's crazy because I mean, you can have different tiers of women. You can have those women who are obviously going to go for the title, and then you can have those women who are not going to even be close to ever challenging for it. I think where Dana is right now is great. I've always seen her more as like a comedy kind of goofy character that always has fit her. So I think the 24/7 title thing is awesome. I think that's great. The little feud that went on with Nikki and
Ripley.
Rhea. Yeah, I think that was fine. It made sense, and it went up into the
Elimination Chamber match. Yeah.
I thought that was great. It's amazing to me though, because if I remember right, like they haven't done anything with
What's going on, Luff?
What's going on, Luff? If I remember right, they haven't done anything with Alexa since Elimination Chamber.
No, I don't even think she's even really made an appearance. People are even mad that she didn't even show her face when Raw was in Columbus. Legitimately, this past Raw was in Columbus, Ohio, and she didn't even make an appearance, and people were upset about it. So, yeah, you got things going on. What's going on, my man? How are you?
Chilling. It's cool, Joe.
I see you've been retweeting a ton of Carmelo Hayes stuff, so you're good with Carmelo, huh?
I love him. He's great.
Yeah. You honestly didn't miss much. We just talked about Asuka and Elias. Elias, shocker, they have nothing. Well, no, we're actually going to be talking about Elias next. We were talking about Xia Li and the reasoning behind her debut taking so long. In a nutshell, they didn't have anything planned for her. So so that was pretty much the reasoning here. And WWE just simply had no creative plans for Asuka's return. Big shocker. She's just sitting home in Las Vegas, and guys and women like Dana Brooke, Rhea Ripley, Nikki TR, ASH, and heck, even and those other women on that Raw roster are getting something to do instead of Asuka. So it's insane, but hopefully someday soon, Asuka can make her return to us.
I miss her. I miss her a lot. God knows the roster needs it. So hopefully sooner or later, and hopefully they don't just throw her in a program with Charlotte to lose 4 times. That would be just beyond pointless. But
yeah, that was something that I actually talked with Phil about earlier. Is I feel like with WWE's booking nowadays, they're almost not willing to book people when it's not for a championship. Like either, you know what I mean? Like, here's something that I noticed that's really funny. Look at any of the part-timers and how many of those angles are like, I'm coming back, I'm a veteran, and I want to see what the young guys got. Like the only time that it's not for a title is when they do that stuff. And I'm just like, what the heck, you know? Like like I was telling Phil, I remember back in the days when you could like have them argue over dumb stuff. Like rivalries would get started over dumb things that even weren't for a title. You know, I miss the days when things were funny and creative and not just like, well, you have a title, I want it, let's fight. Like, you know, you can't build. That really is all it is. And you look on the other side of, you know, wrestling and you look at AEW, and a lot of the matches are not just for titles. They're either for like pride or because, you know, we're feuding over something that happened in the past, just like other reasons.
Yeah.
You know?
It's just I feel like they have the opportunities, but they refuse to put the creativity into it. I don't know if it's an effort thing. I don't know if it's a lack of ideas. Actually no, it can't be a lack of ideas, because even if they ever came down to the point where they can't think of anything, all they have to do is go and look on the internet, because everyone is always giving their opinions on everything. So there's people, not only like people like high up in the IWC, but as far as like just a regular guy with 12 followers, he may be able to book a better WrestleMania than what they've booked so far. You know what I'm saying?
No, yeah, exactly. And it's hard because I feel like with like the problem with a lot of creative is just they're not wrestling fans. So a lot of them are booking things, and like outside of it, if it was like if it was a comedy show or like a drama show, these would be fine. You know, like you're getting these people who are in TV, which is a fine like aspect because it's entertainment, but you still need like wrestling people to be in there and be like, okay, that's fine, but let's have it make a little bit more sense from a wrestling perspective, you know? And that's why I think AEW does everything a lot better, is just because you have people within the business who are like, how can we make this entertaining and dramatic but then also makes sense from a wrestling company.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's really the problem. And the reason why they book Roman so like well is because he's always in the title picture. So booking him it makes sense because they have a reason to want to fight him. But then why does somebody have a reason to want to fight Asuka? You know what I mean? Like,
Exactly.
I was telling him I would love to see a Xia Li versus Asuka feud. You know, have Xia be built up as a monster, and then have Asuka come back, and then just be like, you think you're the top dog? Well, come and face me now. Like, and then it's a pride thing. You know, it's not hard, and like they're making it more difficult than it actually is.
Yeah.
Now, we all know heel Kevin on TikTok. At least I hope we all do. I was actually watching one of his Twitch streams I believe it was like maybe a couple of weeks ago, maybe a couple of days ago. I forget to remember. But they were actually looking up the criteria about what it takes to be a WWE writer and like the actual application process. A requirement on that application was how many words you can type in a minute. Okay. Just probably your normal whatever have you. But this was not a requirement. This was optional. And this is kind of just paraphrasing here, but pretty much the gist of it here is knowledge of the product is optional, but it's not required. What the fuck?
No, and that's funny because
and you legitimately just said, yeah, you can hire these people that have like TV experience, but I would want somebody to at least know some stuff about the product, or at least have some kind of knowledge about the product in a way that, like, sure, I may be only watching it since 2010, but I at least have knowledge of the product and how things could be run in my head, and just see how things go. Knowing that that's optional, that to me is just terrible.
No, and what's funny is like a couple years ago, they had a writer who went on, I forgot if it was a podcast or like a radio show, and they asked her, because she was a WWE writer. She had just started like not too long before this. And they asked her, like, you know, what is your experience? Like, have you always been a wrestling fan? Da, 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 da. And she's like, no, I'm not a wrestling fan at all. Like, I don't really have a lot of knowledge on the business. Da, 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 da. She was just being honest. And there's nothing wrong with that. And WWE fired her for that. Like, it came out, and I'm like, she was being honest. And like, what the heck? You know, and it's funny because, like, I don't know if people remember, but you know who Freddie Prinze Jr. is? The guy who played on Scooby-Doo?
Yeah. He's
a WWE writer. He was a former WWE writer.
Yeah.
And but here's the difference, though. I think he was fine because if I remember right, he did it like in the early, like the mid 2000s. But he talks about like on his Twitter and whatnot. But like, I don't mind him because he actually is a big wrestling fan and he knows the business. But he also can then provide the entertainment aspect because he's been an actor and a producer and stuff like that, you know. But you got guys who have not been in the business at all, who they did comedy writing or whatever, and it's like, but you don't know how to like write matches and feuds and whatnot. I'm like, I'm not expecting you to know like all the way up to the 80s, but I'm hoping that you at least know like the fundamentals, you know?
Right. Yeah. Shoot, I am legitimately blanking right now. Okay. Danielle Fisher. We all know the actor that played Topanga in Boy Meets World or whatever. Her actual boyfriend or husband or what have you. I don't know if they're married or whatever. But her significant other was actually a WWE writer.
Really?
And And this was it came out. I was watching Jensen Karp was his name, and he was actually a writer for WWE in the mid 2000s, and he even came out and saying like that obviously the mid 2000s were completely different than nowadays. But when he was writing, there were some things going on in the world of professional wrestling that he was just completely not really in the know about. And he was a writer for WWE Raw for 7 months during 2006. I just looked it up right now. Obviously, only 7 months. They didn't obviously use him to like the full potential that he possibly could have had, but he had 7 months experience in WWE in the year 2006 as a writer, and even he came out and said that like there were some things in the grand scheme of things for professional wrestling at that time that it was just an absolutely crazy type of world. But yeah, I mean, and he was a professional wrestling fan. He's been watching it for years, and obviously, I believe, I mean, Danielle's been, she's even got mentioned by the Acclaimed in one of their raps a couple of years ago, and like she's been a part of the wrestling world for ages. But I found it really funny that her significant other was an actual writer in 2006 for Monday Night Raw, and I was like, that's insane. And now that you don't even have to really have knowledge of the product, that just
No, that's insane to me because when looking back in like history, like, you know, one of the, like a lot of people, you know, when they talk about the death of WCW, one of the biggest like things that they'll say as to what caused the death of WCW was just having outside people who just didn't understand wrestling get involved, right. You know, and you had people who, you know, from a business perspective, who just weren't wanting to have an interest in it, you know, kind of pretty much causing issues in the company, you know? So like I said, you don't have to have like an insane amount of knowledge of wrestling, but like, it's really sad when I've been watching wrestling since I was like 12 years old. And I feel like I can book some of this stuff better than they can, you know? It's like when you have people who have less than 5 years of wrestling experience, be able to book your shows more coherent than these professional writers, it really says a lot.
Now, but yeah, and I'm sorry, Jensen and Danielle have been officially married since 2018, so I apologize for that. But yeah, I just found it very interesting that Jensen Karp was an actual writer in the year 2006, and I honestly did not know that until I found that random interview with Danielle on YouTube a couple of months ago, and it was insane to even see. But Saul, we will answer that question about Adam Cole and Hangman Adam Page in just a little bit. We'll actually be talking about AEW Revolution after this report about Elias. Now, we all know Elias WWE stands for Walk with Elias, or at least we thought. WWE then had video packages of Elias in the woods or Elias on an abandoned farm with just a campfire, and he threw his guitar into the fire and pretty much just destroyed everything about the Elias character. And it said Elias is dead. And that was the last we saw of him. Now, obviously WWE continued to not do those video packages because, I mean, nobody even really gravitated towards them. But here we go. Another headline that we've kind of been just discussing ad nauseum. WWE reportedly has no creative plans for Elias. Big shocker. Big shocker. We didn't have that before, right? So there are several people on the WWE roster for who the company doesn't have creative plans for, but one person who seemed to be getting nothing to be getting a fresh coat of paint was Elias. However, these days it looks like whatever was in the works for him has been scrapped. WrestleVotes on Twitter previously reported that Elias had somewhat changed up his look with new tights, but Vince McMahon had not. He just simply did not like the idea because he looked too similar to the Macho Man Randy Savage. Ringside News then later on reported that Elias was spotted.
I would have never have made that comparison, but okay.
Yeah, so he looked a little bit too similar to the Macho Man Randy Savage. Maybe it was something with his ring gear. Maybe it was something with his facial features. I don't know. But Ringside News then later on reported that Elias was spotted backstage in December, and he had his face be clean shaven, no beard whatsoever, and he had shorter hair. He didn't have the long hair anymore. So they completely changed his look. Ringside News then reported today. Bear in mind, this report was written on February 27th. So this was reported on February 27th. So they reported that day, Ringside News did, that Elias is currently in, quote, creative purgatory.
Oh my God.
And sources indicate that his name has not come up at all. If WWE plans to bring him back to TV, then it seems like he won't be back before WrestleMania, since it won't make sense to use him now if he's not booked in a WrestleMania match. The last we saw of Elias was several months ago when WWE aired Elias is Dead vignettes, like I mentioned earlier, which seemingly point to him getting a new name. Another name that has been stuck in limbo has been Veer Mahan.
He's coming soon.
WWE has aired vignettes of him for months on end, but there's no sign that he will be returning to the ring before WrestleMania.
So when it comes to all right, so when it comes to Elias, the whole entire fault of why creative doesn't have like plans for him is honestly their own fault, because here you had an individual character. You had somebody that was not like anybody else in the company. And the fact that he not only had his musical gimmick, which got over with the fans to begin with, and that could work as both the face and the heel, which doesn't always happen, by the way. I think that, it's great when you can have something that not only works like as a heel, but as a face too. But he had a great look. He did the whole casual street look, with the beard and the hair, like he looked like a rock star, and that was a part of his whole gimmick. And I thought it stood out very well, and I thought eventually he was going to go for the title. So I knew he was going to be
He even did go for the WWE title in an Elimination Chamber match, I believe in 2017.
Okay. But even like a mid-card title. Like he could have gone for the IC or the US, depending on what brand he was in.
He would have been a great mid-card champ.
But what killed it for me was the fact of they completely just got rid of that gimmick. Now, if they had given a reason for that, like if they did these vignettes of him burning like the guitar and then him burning the gear and then have him come out with this whole fresh look, like clean shaven hair, and doing like maybe like a business casual thing, like a business thing, and being like, and totally gone heel on the fans and been like, you guys started to like what I wanted to do, that, that's not what I want, and just, I'm going to be like a serious guy. I'm going to go for the title. Like that would have been great.
Yeah.
But by not having him on television to explain maybe why he's doing this is just ridiculous. The way I found out that he even changed his whole gimmick and his gear was when they showed him on WWE 2K.
Yeah.
I was like, why? Like, why does that have to be the reason why how I see him?
Right.
And I just
now
the same thing with
go ahead.
Sorry. Same thing with the Veer thing, man. You did not need to separate him from Jinder. He was fine doing that. And if you wanted to maybe have him separate from the group and turn face and be a singles guy, fine. But at this point, WWE knows it's a meme. They think it's funny. They just want to keep it going. And like I said, he's gonna break Emelina's record for most vignettes without debuting. I already can see it.
Yeah. Now here's the thing, Josh, I agree with you 100%. This man,
exactly.
If he does not debut by at least, I'd say within, you know what, I'm going to give it to no, because budget cuts happen before August. Point is, he's going to be released after WrestleMania if he does not show up, and it now, again, like I said earlier, that's not to sound mean. That's not to put Elias to shame or just have bad taste for Elias. WWE just has they have no value in Elias anymore. And that's what they see him as. They see him as no value. And that is why we haven't seen Elias on our television screens, period. That's it. This report said that Elias is currently in creative purgatory. When you're in creative purgatory, they just don't fucking care. They don't.
Exactly. And like I said, it's entirely their fault.
Yes.
Because they took away everything that made him over and that made the fans like him. But once again, they might be punishing him for that because of the fact that he was originally a heel. Fans liked it, made him a face. And when the fans are choosing who they want, Vince doesn't really like that sometimes. So I mean, it's sad that they stripped him away of everything that made him an individual to where now he's just a bland guy that wrestles, and that's really sad because I liked his gimmick. I thought what he did was very, fun and creative, and he had a lot of great moments as that character. And now, even if he debuts, am I really going to care about him? All I'm going to think about is what did they do to him?
Right.
I'm not going to care.
Now, another point that I want to get both of your opinions on, and yes, Anthony, you're 100% incorrect in saying that WWE creative is mostly to blame for all of this. But another aspect that I kind of want to put blame onto why Elias has just been honestly in this creative limbo and just not been here as of late is this goddamn pandemic. When Elias, when you had that type of a character, when you're just singing or sitting in the middle of the ring on a stool and you're just strumming away doing this whole WWE stands for Elias, a character like Elias needs a crowd because the crowd feeds off whatever that man was saying, whether it was a heel or whether he was a babyface. Every single word that he was speaking, everybody put their shit down and they were listening because it was just something we haven't even really seen before. The rock concerts were completely different, and I'm not even really trying to even compare the two, but just in that aspect, WWE, and when this whole pandemic era was going on, we never saw Elias during the pandemic era. We never saw Elias in the Thunderdome, at least to my knowledge.
That's actually a good point. I didn't think about that. Yeah, I actually don't remember ever seeing him during that point. Yeah, that's a good point.
So Elias needed a crowd. So when this pandemic hit and no reactions were happening, or at least these piped-in crowd noises, it wasn't genuine. It was not genuine at all. So the pandemic happened. Elias never showed his face ever again. And yeah, it just feels like WWE just simply has no more value in him. And I feel like after WrestleMania, we could see Elias in that list of just budget cuts. And it's sad to say, but that pandemic really hurt his character as well. What do you think, Laf?
It just sucks because he definitely had something repeatedly. He definitely had points where I was all in on his character, and then it just flopped one day, and I never really understood why. Um, until I realized that they really just don't care about anything that isn't in their like immediate vision. They don't care about what's coming tomorrow. They don't care about what could be coming in the next 5 years. They're just worried about what's happening right in front of their face.
Right.
And the problem with that, it's like driving a car. You got to be aware of everything around you. You can't be just looking at what's in front of you because there's things on the side, from behind. It's everything. And if you're not aware of everything, you're gonna get fucking sideswept or you're gonna get hit. And that's what WWE has been getting hit by themselves though. They've been doing their own damage to themselves for the past 8 years, damn near. So like, it's something that you try to tell them like, hey, watch out for this, stop doing this, but they don't want to stop because they're so stuck in their way because they're making money, but at the same time they're losing people. They're losing wrestlers that really, really want to be there because it sounds like Elias didn't want to leave because if he went through that whole transformation, he obviously wanted to stay there because he obviously could have just went and was like, all right, they think I look like Macho Man. All right, let me go somewhere else and I'll be what I am somewhere else. He did a whole makeover, came back, and they still don't have anything for him. Yeah, no. Now that's just like a disrespect thing at that level. Now it's just we're just waiting. And I don't know. And y'all right about the whole Veer being a meme thing now. I don't even think they care about him. I would be surprised if he showed up at all because now
I think Veer could be one of those names, honestly, on that budget cut list.
They're just playing it like a joke now, and they're showing the same little videos every single week, and
he's on main event.
Like it's not even funny anymore.
He's on main event.
Yeah. They see him. It's like they just don't want to.
So we know he exists.
Yeah, it's not like they're just dark matches. Like those are televised stuff that they put on the network. So it's
main event is on Peacock.
You know what I mean?
Every week.
It's not like a dark match where like we're not going to potentially know that he's there. Like we can watch him every week and know that he's there. So like why not bring him out? But it's one of those things where it's like you can only, like I said, you can only do so much of like having him face against local talent and jobbers.
Yeah, Josh, they still have that show. Yeah, they do. He was asking, like, do they even have that show anymore? They do. But yeah.
But no, the Elias thing really bummed me out because here you had a guy who not only got over with the fans, but he could have been a great marketing machine and a great merchandise machine for the company because it's not very often that you get a musical gimmick like that over. So you could have sold a whole heck of a lot of merchandise. You could have sold, because I know WWE, they sell all kinds of random stuff. You could have sold like microphones with him on it. You could have sold guitars, like stuff for the kids, you know?
Yeah.
He could have made an album because I'm pretty sure he does music.
He did make an album.
Like they could have marketed that and could have totally done a thing like with John Cena back in the day. Like they could have totally had made more money on him, but it's just whether or not they see it in him. And if clearly they don't, if they're willing to get rid of everything that made him popular, which is just unfortunate.
Now, the pandemic, WWE just simply not caring. There are a plethora of reasons as to why Elias has just simply not been used. But yeah, it sucks. We'll see what happens if anything happens. But yeah, Elias, Asuka, Xia Li, those were the superstars that we had some news on for you guys here today, here on Outside the Brand. We are now going to be talking about, we did kind of talk about this a little bit earlier, Loft, before you came on in. But as we all know, Revolution 2022 is happening this Sunday. Revolution could be one of the biggest pay-per-views in this company's history for at least this year. We got a ton of matches, 9 to be exact, to have a ton of things at stake. Your girl Jade Cargill is actually slated for the show.
Woo!
There you go. I'm excited to see that, man, because I've become a big, just off of following her on Instagram, I've become a big Tay Conti or a Ty Conti fan. So that I'm really excited for, to see what she can do. I'm glad to see her.
She is facing Tay Conti for that TBS championship, rather. My bad. They have TBS, TNT championship. They just make things for the companies now. We also have the AHFO, the Andrade Hardy Family Office, which, by the way, needs to leave. Thank you very much. Trios tag team match. Apparently, it's Tornado tag team match. So all 6 men are going to be inside the ring when all of this takes place. Andrade El Idolo, Matt Hardy, and Isaiah Cassidy will take on the team of Darby Allin, Sting, and the TNT champion, Sammy Guevara. That should be insane to even just look at. For me personally, I thought it was going to be a triple threat match for the TNT championship with Sammy, Andrade, and I said Sammy, Andrade, and Darby Allin, but we're getting the 6-person tag instead, tornado style, so all of them will be there in the ring. We have a triple threat tag team match for the AEW World Tag Team Championships. Jurassic Express defending against Red Dragon and Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly, and a team to be determined, which will happen tomorrow on Dynamite in a casino battle royal. Brian Moxley, my bad. Brian Danielson and John Moxley will have a match. Pretty much, that's just going to be a bloodfest, as we all know. That's pretty much what they pretty much were building upon. See who bleeds first. I'm honestly kind of shocked that it's not a first blood match, but that was just my prerogative on it. We also have Chris Jericho take on Eddie Kingston. That should be a good one. That should really be a good one.
I've been seeing the promos leading up to this, and I'm very curious how this is going to be.
That should be a great one to see. And apparently, from what I am getting at, it was like Santana and Ortiz will be in the corner of Eddie Kingston, while Jake Hager will be in the corner of Chris Jericho. So there's obviously something with the Inner Circle going on there. Yeah,
that's really interesting to see. I can definitely see Eddie Kingston, because they've already been having issues from what I've been seeing. And I could definitely see like this match kind of being like the breaking point of the Inner Circle just completely not being a thing anymore.
Right.
So that'll be very like awesome to see.
And here comes the Hoss match. The Hoss match. The Face of the Revolution ladder match for a future shot at the TNT Championship. Keith Lee, Wardlow,
oh my God,
Powerhouse Hobbs, Ricky Starks, Orange Cassidy, and 2 more people to be determined. Now, I don't know if one person is going to be determined tomorrow on Dynamite, and the final participant just be like a surprise entrant, like a Joker type thing. But there's still 2 more spots to be determined, so we'll figure that out. Because, this is the final week before Revolution on March 6th. We have Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, taking on Thunder Rosa for the AEW Women's World Championship. CM Punk take on MJF in a dog collar match, which should be fucking brutal. If you guys have not seen a dog collar match, just check out AEW Dynamite between Cody Rhodes and the late, great Mr. Brody Lee. That right there will just answer all your questions. And presumably the main event hasn't really totally been announced yet, but Hangman Adam Page, there's your guy.
Yeah.
Versus Adam Cole, baby. So, Luff, I just read you out that entire card. looks fucking great, right?
Yeah, I might watch this whole show. Like I might watch this whole show. The only match I don't care about is the freaking 6-man tag match. Honestly, I don't really care about that.
Yeah,
But
the 6-man
everything else,
tornado
I'm
tag
in.
match is just
Everything else, I'm in. I'm in.
You're in. You're all elite. I have to make another all elite graphic again.
Yeah, make another one. Me too.
I have to make another graphic. Okay. I'm Phil Con for a reason. If you need a contract extension, you know who to come to. But yeah, guys, all of these matches seem fantastic. I'm really excited to see what Jade Cargill and Tay Conti can do. Those two, I've been very high on Tay Conti ever since she honestly kind of joined AEW. When she got released in the year 2020 due to obvious budget cuts, because it's just budget cuts, and because of everything that was happening with CV19 at the time, I was just very happy that Tay got a chance to work, especially in AEW. So I'm very happy that she gets this opportunity. And Jade Cargill's just been killing it. I was not really high on her at times. I still think she has a lot to learn, but she's been killing it, and I'm a fan of her. I really am.
That's gonna be my favorite match of the night. I know it's gonna be either that or the freaking Hangman match. Because if he loses, I'm going to snap. I don't. If he freaking loses, I'm going to snap, man. I really would not like that.
Yeah. No, I'm curious to see, man, because you know what? I mean, I'm curious to see with Jade Cargill, you know, seeing how because she's been pretty good from what I can see. You know, she's been a pretty dominant champion. I know they're going to definitely tell a, David versus Goliath type match just because they've been building, Cargill as a powerhouse. So I cannot wait to see that, especially with Tay, man. She's been killing it. I've been seeing just some of the stuff that she's been involved in, and she doesn't look like the kind of person that would like get bloody and dirty, but like she does, and that's awesome to see. Like she's defying a lot of people's expectations, especially me. Like I didn't expect too much out of her just seeing her, But yeah, she's been killing it. That's a match I definitely want to see for sure.
And I don't know if you know this or not, Anthony, but I talked about this with Love, I believe, a couple of weeks ago on an AEW Dynamite review. She's actually been working with Bryan Danielson.
Oh, really? Okay.
In the ring and like her mic work and all of that stuff. So she's been working with one of the best in this business today. So if she is working with a guy like a Bryan Danielson, she's obviously not like half-assing this shit. She wants to learn and she wants to get better, and that to me is an utmost respectable asset for Jade Cargill.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, that one of the absolute best. Not to mention, like, she is dating Sammy Guevara, one of the most talented people on the roster right now. So definitely another person that could definitely, provide some insight into the business to make her get better. So she's got a lot of great people helping her get better, especially given the fact that from what I can see, English isn't like her first language. So just trying to get better with promos might be something that she's going to definitely work on, So yeah, I'm really glad to see her getting a chance to really show what she can do on a higher stage.
Exactly. The AHFO and this whole Darby, Sting, and Sammy Guevara match, that to me, exactly like you said, that match is really not all that important to me. If it was that triple threat for the TNT Championship, like I said, with Andrade, Sammy, and Darby, then I'd be a little bit more excited about. But this is just a 6-man tornado tag. This isn't really all that important. Hopefully the right winner comes out on top here, and hopefully the AHFO is, goodbye once all of this is said and done. But there's really nothing much to talk about in that one. The triple threat tag match for the World Tag Team Championships, Red Dragon, Jurassic Express, and a team to be determined. It's Wednesday now, so I'll say tonight on Dynamite. That's going to be fantastic. It sucks to say this, but I kind of feel like we're going to have a new champion in this, mainly because Jurassic Express were not even really supposed to be the champions at this point. They kind of won the championships in a limbo because of everything that happened with Rey Fenix when he got injured in a table spot on Dynamite when they were defending the tag titles against Jurassic Express. Luchasaurus was doing a chokeslam spot off the ring apron through a table. And Loff, I believe you saw this along with me when we were watching Dynamite. He kind of had his elbow snapped back. And it was just a brutal injury. They called an audible, and obviously Jurassic Express won the titles that night. They're not really technically supposed to be the champions. The Lucha Bros are supposed to retain, but they had to call an audible for that night. I'm sad to say that we might see new champions, but if it's going to be Red Dragon or somebody else, I'm not going to be mad at it because they're going to be two great teams going up against a great team already in Jurassic Express. So I don't know. What do you guys think about all of this with the triple threat tag match?
I mean, I think no matter who wins on Dynamite and ends up going and facing these two teams at Revolution, I think no matter what, it's going to be a banger match. I think it'll be very interesting to see. I definitely would agree with you. I don't think that Jurassic Express is going to keep the titles. I think they might end up going with a new champion going into Double or Nothing. Same thing with like when talking about the previous match. I think that that's probably what they're saving it for. They're probably saving some build up to go into Double or Nothing because obviously they're going to have that title be on the line,
right,
for the TNT Championship. So I definitely think that this probably is going to prelude into a feud going into Double or Nothing. So, but I can definitely see a new champion being crowned that night. I don't know about Red Dragon. They might, but it could definitely very well be the other people that are going to head into the pay-per-view.
For sure. Loff, what do you think about all of this? We got that triple threat tag match. Should be a pretty good one.
I'm gonna watch with no. I'm gonna try my best to like watch with no bias because I don't have any real like ties to anyone. I don't think there's anyone I really want to win. But I do like the way that they do their tag matches, different than like almost any other wrestling company I've seen in a few years. So, I do remember when Jungle Express won and how anticlimactic it felt like. It just came like it felt like it came out of nowhere. So I don't think I'll be happy if they lose. I'm not really invested with a lot of the other tag teams in AEW for me to be like ready for someone else to take them off. But if there's another team that's actually ready to beat them, then I'll be accepting of it. I just really want a good match. Honestly, that's all. Where I'm at with it at this point. I don't have any. Their match quality for me really hasn't gone below A- like at all.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm just watching the watch now.
Right. Now, when it comes to this, I believe, and somebody can correct me in saying this if I am wrong. So, guys, please don't hesitate if you're like an expert when it comes to like how like first time ever is in AEW or whatever. But I believe, to my knowledge, this is the first ever triple threat tag match in AEW history. I really don't believe we have seen this before in AEW. Like I said, if I am wrong, please correct me. If it's any of you guys in the chat that can, or if anybody here in this actual forum could correct me. I believe this could be the first ever triple threat tag match in AEW history. But regardless, it's going to be a great match, and I am very excited to see it, whether it's Red Dragon, Jurassic Express, or what have you. We'll see what happens.
I looked it up. They had one at Full Gear back in 2019. It was
2019.
Lucha Bros versus SCU and Private Party.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much for that.
There hasn't been a lot, so
yeah.
This is a match that doesn't take place very often, so it's still fresh.
Yeah. Especially with new faces like Red Dragon being in here, there's something for sure. We do know that the Young Bucks are going to be participants in this match. Not this triple threat tag match, but in the Casino Battle Royal. To be completely honest, we don't know anybody else that's in this Battle Royal. It's probably just going to be the exact same people that we've seen in that last Battle Royal in Bridgeport, Connecticut. But on last week's Dynamite, but we'll see what happens. Jurassic Express versus Red Dragon versus to be determined for the for the World Tag Team titles. It's going to be a good one nonetheless. Bryan Danielson and Jon Moxley. That shit's just going to be a banger. we all know this was supposed to be a match at Full Gear when this was actually supposed to be the finals of the AEW World Championship Eliminator Tournament. But with Jon Moxley having the guts to acknowledge that he had a problem and he had to go to rehab, they kind of switched it up on the fly, and it was Bryan Danielson taking on Miro for that spot. And then obviously we all know the whole I believe he'll be back. His router has been messing up as of late. But as we all know, the whole Bryan Danielson and Hangman Adam Page stuff took place, and that's why he won the world title eliminator. Now we finally get it at AEW Revolution. Jon Moxley, Bryan Danielson. And someone buy me a new laptop, please. See, that's exactly what I said. But yeah, this is going to be a great match. Jon Moxley said it best. I don't pretty much team with anyone unless I bleed with them first. This is going to be an absolute bloodbath, and I can't wait to see it. And the thing is, apparently, in the words of Bryan Danielson, he does not need a steel chair to make somebody bleed. So this is going to be fantastic. I can't wait for this.
Yeah, this is definitely going to be the hardest hitting match, I feel. Even with the ladder match, I don't think it's going to be that crazy versus this. You have a guy who, and Jon Moxley can go insane when it comes to death matches and will bleed insanely. And then you have a technical guy like Bryan Danielson that will bleed a lot too. So I think not only technically it's going to be a great match, but I think just in terms of just hard-hitting style and blood, it's going to be insane. I would not doubt it if they have to clean the ring after this match. That's how much I think that they're going to be bleeding for this match. Yeah. So it'll definitely be the match to see for sure.
Just don't kill Bryan, please, John. I mean, we all know the injury history of his neck and everything. So please do not kill him. But we'll have to see what this all entails. This is just going to be great. This was supposed to be the finals of that world title eliminator, but I'm glad we at least just get to see it nonetheless. And if this honestly leads towards a partnership between Jon Moxley and Bryan Danielson, I'm not going to be mad at it because these two are fucking great. So I would not mind seeing those two have some sort of partnership in the next couple of weeks or months or however they decide to build this thing. Heck, there's even been some mentions that this could honestly bring in some more aspects into this rivalry where we can see Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston form back up again. And we can have a partnership between Bryan and Punk. And we all know Bryan and Punk have been wanting to do some kind of some stuff with each other. ever since they got back into the world of professional wrestling, especially with them being in the same company. So, heck, I mean, if this even joins into a match between Bryan and Punk versus Moxley and Kingston, you're not going to get a fucking complaint out of me. You're not.
No, not at all.
So, so point is, this has a ton of possibilities that can go on with this, whether they team up with each other, whether they're just going to be in a solo rivalry, or heck, even some outsiders come in to even join in on the fun, because we all know Eddie Kingston and CM Punk have even had their thing going on as well. So that's how you can connect those two to even coming into here. It's just going to be great. And like I said earlier, we're just in it for the ride, and we love every second of it. It's going to be a great thing. We have Jericho taking on Eddie Kingston next. And this is just going to be as good because of everything that's going on with the Inner Circle. I mean, Jake Hager has no idea who's really even to side on. Mainly because, let's be real, we haven't seen Jake Hager in months. Sammy Guevara, he's just kind of fed up at this point. He hasn't even really been associated with the Inner Circle ever since really becoming the TNT champion for the first time. Santana and Ortiz, I feel like they've been long overdue for at least a shot at the World Tag Team titles. And Eddie Kingston, people may say that like all his promos and everything are either the same or they don't rely on any kind of substance to get over, but I don't buy that a single second, because what I love about Eddie Kingston is that he's real, and that he just continues to add different types of layers to his character each and every single time you hear him on that microphone. I love Eddie Kingston. I don't know why there's suddenly hate for the guy.
I mean, I don't know. I like the fact that, you know, Eddie seems to have, like, when he speaks, I believe it, you know, and with some people, I don't get that genuine feeling. With Eddie, anytime I hear him speak, it's just sounding like he's just speaking what's on his mind, you know, and I like that realism. It doesn't sound like he's having to think too much about what he's saying, that he's just going off the cuff with everything, and that's very awesome, you know, and I'm glad to see he's in a feud with Jericho, because, you know, Jericho being that veteran and being one of the best talkers, you know, I think definitely getting the rub off from him is a great thing to catapult him into a potential, you know, world title situation. The ending I can kind of see with it. I can definitely see like there being somewhat of a friction with like Santana and Ortiz with Jericho, you know, leading that into like some aspects of them getting involved in the match probably. But that could also lead to like the Inner Circle ending once and for all, you know, and then having a bigger match at Double or Nothing if they wanted to do that, you know. So it definitely is going to be a great match for sure. And I've been kind of when it comes to like Jericho, I haven't really been interested in a lot of his stuff. I feel like he's not really putting in a lot of full effort, and so like Kingston, I think, is going to help him get to like the heights of like when he used to be world champion, you know, where I want to see Jericho more, you know. I think he even brought that up in his promo. Like,
yeah,
I want the Jericho that was world champion, not like this Jericho. So
he certainly did say that. When I saw him on Wednesday in Bridgeport, I was looking up at one of the Titantrons to just get a better look, because even though I was kind of closer to the ring, I wanted to see what the actual physique of Chris Jericho was looking like, because we all know.
Oh yeah.
During the portions of him being in AEW, he did kind of get a little bit of a dad bod, not just trying to like cause shade or anything, but he did get a little bit of a dad bod. But then all of a sudden, once I actually looked at him more closer, he actually seemed to get back in some sort of like actual like good shape. He wasn't actually having that type of a body anymore. And Now, there's also a reason for that in saying because everybody and their mother went on social media and actually criticized the man for it.
Oh yeah, no, I definitely noticed the difference too.
Yeah.
That was something that I was just like, what happened to Jericho? Because I noticed like when he got the world title, he was in pretty decent shape, but then as soon as like he lost the title and kind of went on this other, like lesser feuds, he was kind of letting himself go, and I'm like,
Yeah.
what is this? Like, this isn't the Chris Jericho I remember growing up with.
And then he was doing
And
some stuff for commentary purposes on Rampage or what have you. But
that was annoying to me. But
yeah,
no, but then I noticed when watching this little promo with Kingston, I was like, wow, he actually is in a lot better shape now.
yeah.
So, I'm glad to see that because I think just match wise, he'll put in a better match.
And I think we will get that
No.
Jericho back. I think we will. And I think Eddie will bring him back to that point. Now, during that entire promo in itself, Jericho kept saying over and over and over again that Eddie Kingston can't win the big one. They're not going to go into Revolution saying Eddie can't win the big one and then Eddie Kingston lose this match.
No,
I feel like Eddie Kingston has to win this thing here. And again, this isn't really our full predictions. If you do want our full predictions, you'll have to wait till Saturday. But like I said, I just feel like you're not going to have him say you can't win the big one and he doesn't win. So if he wins it, that's great. Jericho can go on a hiatus and either do some stuff with Fozzy or what have you, or just either take this little bit of a backstage role and not really get into feuds. But Eddie Kingston can really propel himself here if he actually does win this match. And I can honestly see him as a TNT champion or possibly a future world champion down the line within the next few years. This guy is good, and people really need to understand that.
No, and a lot of people, especially the people that watch AEW and WWE, are not major wrestling fans that are going to look out into the indies, so they might not know who Eddie Kingston is. So, I think Jericho's promo hit it on the dot that like here's a guy who's been involved in the big companies like, AEW and WWE. Who's Eddie Kingston,
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, like Eddie Kingston's had some great, feuds and matches in AEW, but he hasn't really had anything to propel him into being seen as like a serious threat so far. So I think beating a top guy, beating the first AEW champion in Chris Jericho would propel him to insane heights.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, there was issues with the MJF feud that I didn't like, but look at where he's at now. Now he's having the top feud in the company, and no doubt about it, he's going to be the next world champion. Like, he's going to be the one, in my opinion, to beat Hangman. So I definitely think that, like, that's the role that Jericho is in right now, where he's the veteran who needs to have these matches with people and propel them to be the future, So I definitely think that, Kingston is going to win this and be propelled to insane heights, because he's a great talent and he talks insanely well.
Yeah. That one win. That one win can propel this kid, this guy, and he's going to be absolutely fine for it. We then have, I really wish Lop was here. I really wish his computer and router was actually, working, but that's just internet for you. The big house match, the Face of the Revolution ladder match for that future TNT championship opportunity. Keith Lee, Powerhouse Hobbs, Ricky Starks, Wardlow, Orange Cassidy, and 2 more people to be determined. This is going to be a fucking fantastic ladder match. Now, you can honestly see all these people win it. Really, when they were building this ladder match, when Keith Lee was the first one to get, it's not really like inducted into this match, but you get what I mean. When he first qualified for this thing, I'm like, all right, they're going to build this ladder match into something special.
Mm-hmm.
Then Wardlow got in, and I'm like, all right, they're building this thing for these goddamn powerhouses. Let's see who goes next. Powerhouse Hobbs then gets introduced, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, this thing's gonna be fucking great.
Yeah,
And
no,
then,
that, oh my God, dude. It was just like, and then I saw guys like Ricky Stark and Orange Cassidy, and I'm just like, oh my God, they're gonna use these small guys to just get thrown around. Like I'm praying for those two, man, because I know they're gonna get thrown around like rag dolls onto these ladders. Like they're just gonna get thrown around.
And I
And
saw Ricky Starks and Orange Cassidy qualify because they actually qualified in Bridgeport. Ricky Starks actually happened on the actual Dynamite show, and I saw Rampage happen after Dynamite went off the air. So I saw these two get qualified, and we still have two more people to go. We still have two more people.
I'm very curious to see who not only is going to win it, but like who else is going to be in there. Because I mean, at least right now, you have 3 big men who are just going to be powerhouses in this. So,
and those 3 men could honestly win this thing. Ricky Starks, this is no disrespect to him whatsoever, but it's not really a championship recognized by AEW, but he's still technically a champion. So yeah. I really don't see him winning it. And Orange Cassidy, there's no disrespect to him either.
He doesn't need it. Like he really doesn't.
Yeah. And then whoever these 2 other people are, whoever these 2 people are, depending on who they are, we'll see on if they honestly kind of like either deserve the win or what have you. But to me, Keith Lee, Powerhouse Hobbs, and Wardlow are the 3 big favorites, not just because of their size and the ability that they got, but because of what they came here to do.
Yeah.
Wardlow is in this thing because of MJF and this whole storyline with him and his contract with MJF. If Wardlow wins, he pretty much has to, in the contract, hand over the TNT Championship when he wins it, if he actually does get that championship match. And that is in his contract with MJF. Powerhouse Hobbs, before Keith Lee came into this company, I thought he was going to be the first Black AEW World Champion, and now it's just me, and that was just me really believing in the guy because of how good he is.
No, he's insanely athletic, and I'm scared to know how Keith Lee is going to be in this because despite being a big guy, he is very athletic. Like he is this generation's Bam Bam Bigelow. Like I am just insane. I cannot wait to see what he's going to do in this thing.
Yeah.
Like I'm scared to see how some of these guys are going to be. Like that's how
I was scared for Isaiah Cassidy in the debut match. He chucked him with that Beal throw. It was insane. And then Keith Lee, obviously, this guy, like you said, he's fantastic. He's very talented. Bearcat no more. He fucking ripped that thing off of him. And to be completely honest, if you had to choose between those 3, if all 3 of them could get the contract for the future TNT Championship opportunity, I'd give it to all 3 of them. But honestly, up until this point, I really can't give you guys at least a winner because I just want to see it. Whoever really wins this here, I'm going to be happy with because all these guys I love.
Yeah.
It's just, we'll see what happens.
I think that's what I like about this match too, is like you have multiple people who, even if like who no matter what wins, like you know you're going to see a great match and you're going to see like incredible talent get elevated.
Yeah.
You know, I love the heck out of that. So I think this match is going to be one of the matches of the night.
For sure.
Besides the MJF and CM Punk match, I think this will definitely like exceed all expectations that people are going to have.
Yeah. It's just going to be great. Face of the Revolution ladder match. We still have 2 more people to be determined. I guarantee you one of those qualifying matches, if not both, will happen tonight on Dynamite. At least one of them will happen on Dynamite, and maybe after Dynamite goes off the air when Rampage is being taped, that one will be on Rampage, and we'll have to wait till Friday to see it. But if they kind of save that final spot for like a Joker type thing, and we have some sort of like Joker either a return or heck even a debut in that kind of idea, I'm fine with that too.
I think that would be a great idea. I think that would be a good thing because it gives people a reason to want to watch that even more.
Because who's going to debut in that final spot? So it's going to be something great to see. All right, Josh, we'll talk to you soon, my man. Have a good night. Yeah, we'll talk to you very, very soon. Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa, AEW Women's World Championship match. This is also going to be something great because the last time we saw this was in St. Patrick's Day Slam in that unsanctioned lights out match. Fucking bloody as all hell, brutality at its finest, and now we get it for the world title. This has been a long time coming, and I feel like it's Thunder's time. But if they really want to extend it to Double or Nothing, you can really see that happening. So again, just like the ladder match, I'm gonna be fine with whoever wins because we all know I love myself some Britt Baker, but I also love me some Thunder Rosa as well. It's gonna be great.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think either one of them would be a great pick. I think just on terms of story, I think they could totally push this to have to get pushed to Double or Nothing, mostly because I want to see it live. But
it's true. Yeah, that's right. You're going to Double or Nothing.
You know I'm going, man. But like I would love to see her get her moment on like the biggest show of the year. You know, I think like what a way to build a star. On that. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it's still going to be a great pay-per-view, and I think it's going to be a great match. But just it's like winning a title at WrestleMania. You know, you want to have that big moment. But yeah, either one I'm happy with, and I know it's going to be like one of the top matches. So
yeah, this is going to be great. Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker have been going at it since. For honestly, as long as we can honestly remember when it comes to AEW canon and everything of that nature, but before even AEW even really existed, these guys have been going at it. So they even had history before this company even existing. We all know Britt Baker was the first ever woman signed to AEW, and then when Thunder Rosa got signed to AEW, they kind of just linked up and they clashed, and they've obviously had that type of chemistry just to head to this match. Whether it's Thunder Rosa's time to win the title or whether it's Britt Baker retaining and we're actually getting this again at Double or Nothing, I'm going to be perfectly fine with it, and we're going to be cool regardless. We're going to be talking about this dog collar match next, and man, dog collar match. The second ever dog collar match in AEW history, and I know that is a fact.
Yeah.
The first ever dog collar match happened between Cody Rhodes and the late great Brody Lee on an episode of Dynamite. I believe it was in October. But regardless, the first ever dog collar match will answer every single question that you have about this match and more. It's going to be fucking brutal. And honestly, when CM Punk was having that box in the ring, I honestly had no idea what he was going to be pulling out. And now all of a sudden when I see a chain and two dog collars on the other ends of those chains, I'm like, oh shit, this is going to be a dog collar match. And like, this is just a very rare appearance because because before everything that happened with Brody and Cody, those matches really didn't take place at like the last one I kind of distinctively remember was a Roddy Piper dog collar match, and that happened in the 80s.
Yeah. And it can be a brutal match. I don't know if you've ever CM Punk's been in one, actually. Besides he was in one with Raven back in like his ROH days.
Yeah.
And that was a bloody massacre on that one. So like CM Punk has knowledge in this type of match, and it's going to be just an insane match. But even just like without the match, like even if it was just a normal one-on-one, like the story that they've told throughout these last couple of weeks is just insane. I'm sorry, but when MJF can get me to feel sorry for him, despite being the most despicable heel in the company, that just is insane storytelling.
That promo, witnessing that live, was incredible. Whenever I see somebody speak like that, I put my phone down, I locked it, I just shoved it to the side and just listened to the man speak. It was just absolutely incredible. Incredible.
Not to mention, like a couple days after, like people were talking online and finding like
finding out if everything he was saying was true or not.
And it was too. Like that was what was even more insane, was that everything he said, like he's been consistent with, which is just incredible. This has been like the top feud of the year so far, and I cannot wait to see how this is going to continue.
100% agree. That everything about this feud has been booked to perfection, and whenever we've heard MJF speak before, there's always been some sort of realism to him, but whenever he was speaking these heel type promos to pretty much just either get a rise out of us, or just a rise out of anybody else that he was going up against, you wouldn't have said, I'll use the Brian define Brian rivalry that he had. Brian Pillman Jr. when he was having that rivalry, he was saying all that stuff about his dad, and any other rivalry that MJF has really had. He wouldn't have really said these types of things if they didn't either met with each other and actually talk about things beforehand to go over the promos or what have you. But this one was completely different because MJF and CM Punk, they have had a history that none of us have really even noticed before up until the point of that promo with MJF. And when CM Punk came out after all of that, no music, by the way, which I loved. They didn't have Cult of Personality hit, and he was running to the ring to get at him. They just not played his music. He walked to the ring. He stood face to face with him, and he asked, "Is it true? Is it all true, what you're saying?" And MJF was just like, yes, this is true. And he just walks out. Them just saying those words with no audio, that to me spoke even more words than just the actual words in the promo itself. Like, just knowing that this was all true was fantastic. Everything about this was great. Everything. And now we finally get the culmination. Do we see MJF win this thing? No. Because for me, I have to have him win this.
Yeah, I don't see CM Punk winning this. I can definitely see him giving a great effort, but I don't see him doing this. And I think just because Punk's in the stage of his life where he can afford to lose rivalries and still be a top draw.
He's bulletproof.
And yeah, exactly. He's in the same boat that Jericho is in right now, where his name alone is going to draw money regardless of how well he does. And he's just known as that guy who can go out there and put on a show and is going to elevate every talent, And I'm glad to see that. I'm glad to see these guys who don't wrestle very often still elevating the future talent. Like I said, I honestly would not be surprised if after this feud, MJF is going to go for the world title and be the next AEW champion. I would not be surprised.
Like, the thing is, CM Punk knows what he came here to do. CM Punk even came out to even say what he's come here to do, and that he's come here to help this company, to help Tony Khan, and to help this younger talent grow. So MJF, he definitely needs to win this match. There's no other way around it. I believe CM Punk knows what he has to do, and he'll do the right thing when it's all said and done. Now, do we need this to go any further? No. I honestly didn't even think we need to even have this match at Revolution. I thought once MJF beat CM Punk in Chicago twice, I thought that was it. I thought that could have been it, and we could have seen something. I honestly thought we could have seen something between MJF and Hangman at Revolution. But obviously that wasn't the case, and we saw Adam Cole instead. But I think you're going to be very happy when I say this, I think we're going to have MJF and Hangman and Page at Double or Nothing for that World Championship. So
I will be absolutely happy to see that live if that is the case.
So you're going to see something fantastic if that is actually going to be the case. Because you're right, MJF is going to be the one to beat Hangman and Page, and I think everybody kind of knows that in the back of their head, but we kind of have to just get there. And him beating CM Punk will be the catalyst of that.
No, absolutely. I definitely think that if they are going to put him in a main event matchup at the biggest show of the year for the world title, they need to build him up to be the biggest threat. And the biggest way to do that is to get vindication over the person who wronged him as a kid. I think that'd be great. So I cannot wait to see that match. That match is going to be just insane.
Final match on the card before just a little bit, just a short talk on 2K22 with it being a week away from being released for the Deluxe and NWO edition. Hangman Adam Page and Adam Cole. Adam Cole's been undefeated ever since coming to AEW. Hangman Adam Page won the championship in that long-term storytelling, just amazing story between himself and Kenny Omega. Hangman Adam Page has been a great champion, and I'm not taking anything away from him whatsoever. But I will say that his championship reign has been a little bit lackluster, and that's not his fault by any means whatsoever. But when you have a story like a CM Punk and MJF, the title just seemed kind of secondary to that rivalry. And again, not his fault at all. It's just the way things were going at and the pacing of how things were going down. This match is going to be great. I believe Adam Cole is one of the best wrestlers in the world right now, if not the best wrestler in the world. Probably next to Bryan Danielson. And Hangman Adam Page is great. But whoever wins this match, again, like the ladder match, again, like Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa, I'm not going to be mad because I love Adam Cole and I love Hangman. We'll just see what happens. But I do believe if we want to see something for Hangman and a big win for him in this world title run, I feel like he has to retain here.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think Adam Cole will definitely be a champion at some point in his career, in his time in AEW. I just don't think right now is the time. I will also agree. I didn't want to say it because I do like Page, but really, I mean, his championship reign has been kind of just to me. And the reason why is just because he's been putting on great matches, but I just feel like they haven't meant anything. You know? Like you could take the title away and they would still be the same to me in terms of like its value. And that just has to be creative. And it's hard when you have such an incredible storyline. Like this is like, and this is like what we were talking about, like why we feel like the MJF and CM Punk feud, like match needs to go on last, because I think it's going to be the Hulk Hogan versus The Rock WrestleMania dilemma.
Yeah.
You know, it's going to just get overshadowed. More people are going to care about that match just because of storyline and just the aura of the match over the title any day.
Plus, it's a dog collar match compared to a normal singles one-on-one.
You know,
there's also that aspect.
Oh yeah, definitely. And so like I think it's just because of just how it's happened to be. But I think this match will catapult him, be the one to beat Adam Cole. I think would be great. Because then you're building him up for an insane match at Double or Nothing, and then you could potentially be setting up his opponent. So you'd be elevating everybody to get to that main event. So I think that'd be great. But yeah, no, most definitely, this match is going to be insane.
Now, I want to preface to all you guys out there that if Adam Cole loses this match here, he is not buried. I do not want anybody to be on social media and say that Adam Cole was buried because he lost the first World Championship match that he has been a part of for AEW. He is not buried. They use that word way too much for people that lose in this company. He is not going to be buried. Just like Jay Lethal is not buried, just like there's other people that have lost in this company. Oh, Andrade, for example, he lost on Rampage for the TNT Championship. Andrade is not buried. They just lost. You guys are using that word way too frequently for situations that are not even the case. So he's not going to be buried if he loses to Hangman. It's not happening. It's not buried.
No, agreed. I honestly think the wrestling community has used that term to where it doesn't mean anything anymore. Just because somebody loses a match doesn't necessarily mean that they're burying them. As long as, in my opinion, as long as you're still making them out to be a credible threat and that they could win the title, they just didn't get it done that night. That's not a burial. No. Making them look like they're weak and making it seem like, why are they even in this match? That's a burial,
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't see, because we know that Adam Cole is talented and that he's going to put on a banger of a match. We just know in terms of storytelling, he's probably not going to get done, but that doesn't mean he's not going to get the title at some point, but it is not a burial by any means.
Yeah. Andrade debuted in June of 2021. Okay, he hasn't even been here for a year yet, and people are already calling him buried. You gotta let the guy work. I understand the man hasn't really been involved in a ton of matches here in AEW since coming in June, but you gotta let the man work. You gotta at least allow AEW to get accoladed with the man and have Andrade work in this type of system a bit longer so that he knows what not is expected of him, because that's not what this company is all about. We're here for professional wrestling purposes, but we have there's some kind of there's something to be had here. So they need to figure out a spot for Andrade. And once Andrade is out of this Hardy family office shit, I believe he'll be perfectly fine. Now, when it comes to who was the other one that I just mentioned that people were saying that were buried?
Jay Lethal.
Jay Lethal knows where he's at in in this stage of his career right now.
Mm-hmm.
He knows he's kind of in the role of a CM Punk. He is going to be here to help put this younger talent over. And if he's going to win some matches here in the process, yes, that's obviously a great thing, because you're winning matches, you're getting cash, and you're just getting a paycheck. But he knows where he's at in this company.
Yeah. So
he's not buried if he helps put younger talent over and he loses a couple matches here and there. It's just not. That's not what this is about.
No, and that's entirely what wrestling is supposed to be about. You have people who are going to be considered top tier for the remainder of their career, or even if they're not wrestling anymore, they're going to be known for being that high caliber of a star. And so when you have them lose to elevate, that's a good thing. You want them to make the future like ready. You know, these superstars are ready so that they can go into a world title scene and be seen as a credible threat, not just getting thrown into it. Like, I can honestly bet if they threw Andrade into a title match and he won, they'd be like, why did he win? He
just got here.
He just got here. He hasn't been doing anything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I heard that. I remember when Powerhouse Hobbs had CM Punk's first TV match and lost. They were like, "Oh, he's getting buried." No, he's not getting buried.
No.
He had a great match with CM Punk on national television and looked incredible.
And CM Punk chose Powerhouse Hobbs because he wanted to see what that kid got. So every single opponent that CM Punk has pretty much gotten into the ring with, CM Punk has hand chosen because he wants to see what these kids can do. He chose Darby Allin as his first match back in 7 years.
And I
that to me is the utmost respect.
Oh yeah, and I don't remember hearing anybody talk about CM Punk burying Darby Allin.
No.
You know, so I mean, I feel like that word has just honestly gotten overused. Every time somebody loses and doesn't win a championship, they think they're getting buried. No, as long as they're getting elevated and they look like a top talent that can go, I don't think it's going to be a burial.
Now, what do you just off the top of your head, just based on how you've seen Jay Lethal so far in his career here in AEW, what do you think his record is?
God, if I remember right, he hasn't had a lot of matches.
No, he hasn't had a lot of matches, but it's not what you think. Probably.
I have no idea. What is it?
It's 5-2.
Is it really? Okay.
It's 5-2. A 5-2 record is not buried from what I'm thinking.
No, that's not bad. No, that's not bad at all. Yeah.
He's 4-1 in 2022.
Okay.
The other loss that he had in 2021 was his debut match in AEW for the TNT title against Sammy Guevara.
Okay.
When he came out during that pay-per-view and he accepted the open challenge from Sammy Guevara. So he's 5-2.
Yeah.
That's not buried. Now, Andrade, he hasn't honestly had a lot of matches here in this company either, but this is not bad either. You can even guess this one if you want to.
I mean, I don't know, like 6-4. I don't.
10-4.
10-4. Okay.
10-4.
That's not bad at all. That
no.
He's won a decent amount of matches.
He's 10-4, and he is 2-0 in the year 2022. So he was 8-4 in 2021 since debuting in June. How are you guys classifying this as buried? I don't understand it. Or not you guys probably, but everybody else.
I mean, I can understand where people might come from the perspective of like, here you have Jay Lethal. He was a really top like champion in ROH, and now he's going to AEW on a bigger platform, and he's not getting maybe the recognition he deserves. I can understand it from that perspective, but at the same time, like when you have such a big roster of all of these like former champions,
that's
like
also the problem that we got here.
That's the problem.
A big roster.
And so, I mean, just to give them a title reign, it doesn't make any sense. Like, are you going to give them a title reign to last maybe a month so they can let like the other people get a chance? Like, no, like you got to build the talent that's there and make it. And this is always my thing when it comes to professional wrestling is making sure the superstars could win the title and they have a good chance. They just didn't get it that time. Not in a situation where it's like Roman, where like, he's going to win. Like you want everybody.
Jay Lethal could be a TNT champion any day of the fucking week.
It's just he hasn't done it yet, and like that's the thing, like that people should look at. anybody, everybody should look like a talented, superstar that can go and be able to win the title. They just didn't get it done that night. Versus, oh, that guy's going to win, or that guy is going to obviously win. That guy doesn't have a chance, and then.
Because then it's not fun if it's just too predictable like that all the time. Now, we do have over 120 wrestlers here on this roster. That is a ton. Now that is a ton. And we have talked about this here ad nauseum here on OTB, that at some point, and it honestly technically already has, AEW is kind of getting a little bit too top heavy, because everybody here is world championship caliber, and not everybody can be a world champion in this company as of right now, especially with how short this company has been a thing, only 3 years. People have clamored for a brand split for AEW. I don't know if that's really technically the right way to go about it, but I can totally see everybody's point in view on that. And even still, if you're trying to split the roster 50-50, that's still over 60 wrestlers per brand, so to speak. And well, to me, that seems still like a pretty big roster for both shows. I say both shows in meaning of Rampage and Dynamite, but people have been saying that, and we could see that happen, but I feel like we'd kind of be hypocrites in saying, oh yeah, we need a brand split for AEW, and everybody's trying to say, oh yeah, we don't need a brand split anymore for WWE. People would say hypocritical for that. People would say it.
They definitely will, and here is my rationale for wanting a brand split for AEW, but then wanting maybe to end the brand split for WWE. And I remember when the brand split ended for WWE, the reason why was because we had 2 separate shows, and it was getting to the point where like the roster was so thin that we were seeing the same people appear on both shows throughout different means, right? So then it didn't really matter. And I remember we were asking for a brand split because SmackDown it wasn't anything. Yeah. Half of the show was just a Raw recap with like some extra matches thrown in, like there really wasn't a reason to watch SmackDown. And plus you had all these people who were not getting used. And somebody brought this up. Had it not been for a brand split, there would not be any Black World Champions right now in WWE.
That's honestly really true.
And I would definitely stand by that statement, because I know Roman would be the champion right now, and you wouldn't have guys like Big E, Bobby Lashley winning the title. So I mean, you're getting these guys a chance. And the reason why I want a brand split for AEW is because you have all these top guys, or like these big names, who are not getting used. Guys like Brian Cage, who are not getting used whatsoever, who if you got another show to put them on, it could give them something to do. It can give them something to fight for. Plus, it would give a reason to want to watch Rampage. I mean, the numbers...
You got Rampage, 2 shows already. Two shows already.
I mean, the numbers for Rampage versus Dynamite really show, like, no one cares. No one wants to watch Rampage when there's not really like storyline progression going on, to some degree. But and then with WWE,
I've been saying this for months. You can totally tell when something's taped versus when something's live. You can totally tell.
Yeah, and with WWE, with like reason why I want the brand split to end is because they're only focusing on some of this on those people.
We thought having a brand split would help this whole situation of people being used over and over and over again. But honestly, it's kind of made shit worse.
And what's made it worse is they don't have a reason to have a brand split when like you've cut 100 wrestlers over the last 2 years.
Yeah, the firings of over 200 plus people is insane
of course
too.
So of course you're only going to use guys like Roman, Brock. You're only going to have in the
that's all you got left.
Because that's all you got. So there's really no reason to have a brand split when your roster is already thin enough as it is, and there's not much of a difference, you know. So
Yeah.
having the one women's title, the one world title is different, because then you have, instead of having like 10 wrestlers go for the title, you can have 20, you know, you just
Yeah.
have more possibilities. So, I mean, anybody that disagrees with a brand split for AEW and then will still not say that they shouldn't have they shouldn't get rid of the brand split for WWE doesn't really know.
Now,
Exactly.
here's the thing. If AEW ever does do a brand split, I do not want a second AEW Tag Team Championship. I do not want a second Women's Championship. Those would have to float between both brands. We got a ton of AEW tag teams in this division. We got a ton of women in this division right now. We do not need to have 2 sets of tag team championships and 2 sets of women's championships for AEW.
Okay.
We have those floating, obviously. Now the TBS and TNT championships, for me, you just put them on their respective networks. You had the TNT championship on TNT for Rampage, and then you obviously have the TBS championship be on TBS. And with the World Championship, I wouldn't want a secondary AEW World Championship, because that's obviously the big title there.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
see, that's the thing when it comes to an AEW brand split, because you really have these championships that kind of need to stay on these specific networks because they've named it after specific networks.
Mm-hmm.
It would kind of just feel weird to me to have a brand split, but I really do see where people are coming from because it's such a big roster.
I mean, a way they can potentially get around it is, I mean, you have you don't separate the tag team titles because they've got enough teams on the shows right now where you can have them float around. I mean, you've got 2 titles for the women. Why not make one of them a women's only show?
Yeah,
you know,
you can do that.
I mean, you could do that, and that would be something that no company does right now anyway.
Yeah.
So you would be different. I mean, so you have one show that's all about the men, you know, Dynamite's on TNT, so have the TNT championship there, have the world title there, and then you can have on TBS Rampage, you can have the women's championship and the TBS championship.
Yeah.
That way, you know, give your women, because that's one of the biggest criticisms of AEW right now anyway, is their treatment of the women's division. So what a way to catapult them more into the spotlight by highlighting them and making them, like WWE did a women's only pay-per-view. Well, we're going to do a women's only show, like just on television, you know, like if you really wanted to like take a dig at WWE again, but you know, I mean, it would be different, and it would allow them to potentially fix some of their problems.
Yeah,
with their roster.
And plus with this, and the thing is, it all goes back to kind of the Owen Hart Cup tournament. I guarantee you, we're going to see some new faces in this cup tournament. I guarantee you, we're going to see some new faces. People that obviously had their 90-day no compete clauses, I can totally see be a part of this tournament, like Athena, for instance. I can honestly see a Toni Storm here. I can see a Tegan Knox here. I can see some new faces here in this Owen Hart Cup tournament. For the men, I mean, we can see some new faces here for the men as well. That's a little bit those are a little bit more unpredictable to tell because we got guys like Cross still out there. We obviously have guys like Wyndham still out there as well. That one's a little bit more unpredictable, but for the women, you can totally see like the Ember Moons, the Tegan Knoxes, and the Toni Storms all being at least somewhat involved in this thing. But we'll see where that goes. Point is, AEW is such on a it's on, and people have this love-hate relationship with this company, and it's all kind of warranted, but when you all see what's happening in front of your eyes, especially with Rampage, with Revolution, I don't know how you. I'm just loving everything that's happening because this is what I like. I love this unpredictable kind of atmosphere, and this is what professional wrestling is all about. Just getting excited to be a professional wrestling fan.
No, and this is what I think a lot of fans miss, and this is why I feel like so many people are gravitating towards AEW is the problem with WWE that so many people had in the last few years is just unpredictability. Everything was predictable. They knew what was going to happen, either just due to the dirt sheets exposing everything, or them just seeing how the booking is and just being able to guess very easily. There's no predictability. People know what's going to happen, and I see with AEW, you don't know. You don't know who's going to go and what they're going to do. Some of them are predictable. We feel like Adam Cole is not going to win against Hangman. But we know that it's still going to deliver, and we're not disappointed. With the tag team match, for the tag titles, we don't know who's going to potentially win that, So there's still that unpredictability, and it's giving a reason for wanting to watch the show. And then still tune in for the weekend, for the week of Dynamite or Rampage, because we want to see what they do to propel that feud or rivalry further. So, and they're hitting it on the nail when it comes to the way professional wrestling has been. So,
yeah. So that's it for your AEW talk. Just real quick, before we're gonna get out of here just and very soon because it is 1:15 in the morning, and I thank you for being here for this long. But WWE 2K22 comes out in a week for those of us who get the deluxe and or NWO edition, and the 11th for the standard. Pretty much from what I'm. I could be fucking dead wrong in this, but for me in my gaming, I do not go I do not go to the stores anymore to actually pick up an actual disc copy of games anymore. I don't even know if we actually are even getting disc copies of this game. Considering with the way that they kind of promoted this stuff, with it being an NWO edition. Meaning pretty much only digital because it's not really a collector's edition this year like it was in years past. I don't even know if we're actually getting disc versions of this game. But regardless, what have your thoughts been? Well, first of all, are you a gamer? And second of all, have you been up or down when it comes to this marketing of this game so far, because it's been a 1.5 year process of developing this game because of how shitty 2K20 was.
Well, to answer your first question, yeah, I'm a gamer to a certain extent. I grew up on wrestling video games, and what's funny is I always tell people what kind of got me into wrestling. It was really funny. It actually was wrestling video games. I remember going into a computer store that used to sell DVDs and video games and stuff, and I found a copy of SmackDown vs. Raw, the original, with Vince on the cover. And not even being a fan of wrestling, I had seen some here and there, but I wasn't really a fan. I remember playing that and just falling in love with the game, and I ended up buying them every year after that. But, I eventually started watching the product after playing that constantly. So, wrestling video games hold a special place in my heart, definitely. I've played some of the 2Ks, especially 2K18 and 2K19. I didn't play 20, thank God. Because I heard that was just a cluster. But I think that this game is really promising. I think they know they have to do better than they did last time. But we'll definitely have to see. I'm not mad at 2K. I'm mad at WWE because they're putting them in such a bind right now. Because you're going to have 2K come out, and you're going to have all these released people like Jeff Hardy, like Karrion Kross, who are not even with the company, but are still going to be in the game. Yes. I find that just very weird.
We have 36 people that are not with the company anymore, but are still in the game.
which is just insane to me, how that is. But also, just even from watching like the videos that you've done talking about GM mode, that was something I didn't really do GM mode all that much playing. I mostly did like the story modes back in the day, but I knew GM mode was like insanely popular with people, especially like online. And I know fans were really happy to see it back, but with it being very limited, that's what I've seen as a problem with people. You know, with you only being able to make like 3 matches and
3 matches per weekly show for Raw and SmackDown, 4 for pay-per-view that you're doing, and 5 for WrestleMania. WrestleMania doesn't have 5 matches. WrestleMania has like 15.
It's like they're making it what we want it to be, but no.
And there's only singles titles in this,
which that's insane.
There's no tag titles and there's no women's championships.
Like what? Like I'm just surprised because like, well, you can make it somewhat restrictive, but like make it
singles or tag championships. My bad. There is a women's championship, but tag team and like let's say the United States or Intercontinental, that's not in this.
Like that's just weird to me. Like they used to be able to do it like when THQ used to run the WWE games, like GM mode made sense. Like, yeah, you only had like 4 matches you could do it like on like Raw, let's just say.
Yeah.
But you can make it how you wanted. So if you wanted to make it like a ladder match for the United States Championship, you could do that.
You can do that, yeah.
It doesn't seem like with this GM mode, like you're going to be able to do that. And that's another funny thing is like you're going to have GMs who aren't even
singles matches and tag matches that you can book on the shows. That's it. Singles matches and tag matches.
I mean,
like a normal one-on-one match. Like that's.
I mean, I guess it's very telling of the product, huh? Because they
pretty much is what we get every single week.
Not to mention, like you barely see the mid-card titles as it is.
Yeah, so like it's honestly very telling. But yeah, I mean, we got to pretty much go over. We're not going to go over every single name on the roster, but we do have 188 superstars on this roster, which is honestly a lot more than I thought was actually going to be the case. Considering how many people, I was saying, considering how many people got released, but still, even people that got released are still in this game. So 188 people, the 36 of the 188 are people that got released.
Yeah, not to mention, like, if I remember right, they made a big deal about Undertaker. So you have like 3 versions of like Undertaker.
3 versions of the Undertaker, yeah.
You have like different versions of certain people. Like, I'm pretty sure they're gonna have 2 versions of Kane.
Guess how many Rey Mysterios there are in this? No, it's mainly because of the showcase, but yeah, guess how many?
Well, I'm assuming there's gonna be a regular Rey Mysterio. There's gonna be a WCW one. What was it, like 5?
We have 8.
God.
Rey Mysterio. Rey Mysterio 05. Rey Mysterio 06. Rey Mysterio 08. Rey Mysterio 09. Rey Mysterio 09 December version. Whatever. Rey Mysterio 11 and Rey Mysterio 96 from Starrcade. All of those Rey Mysterios.
Okay, come on. Like you could have made. At least when they did the showcase with Stone Cold, they had like Stunning Steve Austin, Stone Cold. They had like different versions of him from different time periods. But come on, like 08 and 09. Oh, and then December of 09.
December of 09.
Like, does the December one at least have him in a Christmas hat or something? Like
here's one thing that you could have easily saved all the fucking trouble with. Make fucking alternate attires. Have the one Rey Mysterio and have these attires just be unlocked once you go through
while you're doing the showcase.
Yeah, go through the showcase and you just unlock that attire. And just have it still be in that one Rey Mysterio character. You don't need 8 characters of Rey Mysterio.
No, exactly. And what doesn't make sense?
You have 2 versions of Mia Yim.
What?
Mia Yim regular version and Reckoning.
Oh.
Reckoning from Retribution.
Oh, okay.
Like why?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
why?
Okay.
Like why?
I honestly completely forgot about that then. But no, but like that doesn't make sense to me because like, especially with the showcase, I'm like, what are you gonna do with Ray then? Because like, that's really sad to me because like you could have easily had done like, I mean, I know they're gonna do WCW, but you could have done an ECW one because that was the first company he worked for when he came into America.
Yep.
You could have had a lot different like attires that would have made sense. But I totally agree with the separate ones. That's not even including the NWO attire that they're gonna probably have for these guys. So
Probably, yeah.
So you're gonna have like Diesel, and then you're gonna have like Kevin Nash NWO.
Actually, let me see that. Let's
Not to
see if
mention,
Diesel's in the game.
not to mention, like there's people who have complained, like, why am I not in the game? Like Alundra Blaze.
Paige went all over the place on Twitter.
Yeah. And Alundra Blaze, like she ran it on Twitter. She's like, why did I sign this Legends contract? And like I think she's in the Hall of Fame. Like, why did I sign a Hall of Fame contract just for you not to put me in the game? Like
there is Diesel in the NWO version of him. There's Hulk Hogan and the Hollywood Hogan of him,
which is expected, yeah.
And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 versions of the Undertaker. 3 of them are if you pre-order. One of them is obviously just a normal Undertaker, and the American Badass Undertaker is going to be in the game. Okay. Like, all of this honestly could just be fixed if you just have alternate attires for these guys. And yeah, sure, that would kind of decrease the roster a little bit, but at the end of the day, just giving these guys alternate attires instead of just giving these separate characters that, trust me, I'm not even going to fucking touch probably the Phantom Mask version of The Undertaker unless if I just really want to just creep people out in an online match. That's it. I'm not really going to touch that version of him. I'm not going to touch Rey Mysterio from 2011. Why? I got the updated version in the actual normal version of Rey Mysterio. There's no reason to have like 8 versions of Rey Mysterio, 2 versions of Mia Yim.
Yeah, where the difference is she's gonna wear a mask in one of them. Like,
yeah,
no, that I can understand, like at least to one degree, because that's just one. But when you have 8 different like Rey Mysterios, where okay, if like I said, if you had one from like ECW because his attire was somewhat different, if you had one from WCW, if you had one from like the early days of like WWE, you know, if you have like almost completely different attires, that would make sense. But to have one from like 08 to 09, like his attire is not different. Yeah. Like there's no reason to have like separate characters in that.
Now we do have some people that are missing, and I do kind of want to at least address Apex Predators 5286 questions on this. There are some women on this roster that are not here in this game and that are in the actual company for this game. So that will run down the women's roster because there are some notable names here that are either here that aren't in the company anymore or that are just flat out missing. Alexa Bliss, Asuka, Bayley, Becky Lynch, Beth Phoenix, Bianca Belair, Billie Kay, she's not in the company anymore, Candice LeRae, Carmella, Charlotte, Chyna, Dakota Kai, Dana Brooke, Ember Moon, not in the company anymore, Io Shirai, Kaylee Ray, Lacey Evans, Lana, not in the company anymore, Liv Morgan, Mandy Rose, Maurice, Mia Yim, Mickie James, not in the company anymore. She's in another promotion.
Yeah.
Naomi, Natalia, Nia Jax, not in the company anymore. Nikki Ash, Peyton Royce, not in the company anymore. Raquel Gonzalez, Reckoning, pretty much Mia Yim 2.0. Rhea Ripley, Sasha Banks, Scarlett, who's a manager. Shayna Baszler, Shotzi, Sonya Deville, Stephanie McMahon, Tamina, Tegan Knox, not in the company. Toni Storm, not in the company. And Trish Stratus. No Zelina Vega.
No, yeah.
I can't even really. Who else?
Paige Paige is the biggest like omission.
Paige is gone. The Bellas, no more.
Alundra, which you could have easily had made like a legend to like include in there.
Yeah.
Which is really surprising to me.
Wait, let me go to the Raw roster here on the WWE app. Everybody else in here so far. Dewdrop is not in the game. And she's honestly kind of been here for a minute. I said,
Lita's not in that either.
Lita's not in the game. That's it. That's it for the Raw. Let's go to SmackDown. Aaliyah's not in the game, but now here's the thing. I don't know if we could. She's been here for a minute, but Aaliyah could honestly be DLC if anything.
Yeah, maybe.
Charlotte's there, obviously. Kayla's not an in-ring competitor. Naomi, Natalia are in the game. Sasha's in the game. Shotzi, Sonya, and Xia Lee's not in the game. I mean, she just debuted, but still, she's been in the company for ages, so she's not in the game. There's many people that are missing from this game, and to me, just putting them in DLC packs just because, and like, oh yeah, they're finally in the game now, that doesn't excuse them for this, because you have people here that have been in this company for ages and they're not in the game. So
yeah,
it's crazy to me to even think that, but
especially people like that have signed contracts with you and have agreed to like be a part of the company and to potentially get royalties from that, and you're kind of like, no, I don't want to include you, so you're not getting money from that. Like, that's probably where like Alundra is coming from. Like, I literally signed a contract with you. Why am I not in this game? Yeah. Especially because she's been involved in the other games before. So like, why is she not involved in this one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The fact that Lita's not in this game, but Trish Stratus is, and there's just something of that nature. And Apex, I believe you're pretty much alluding to what I was saying earlier about these attires that I was saying earlier. You could have just had one superstar, but just had these multiple attires, like especially with the Rey Mysterio, with the eight versions of Rey Mysterio instead of just one Rey Mysterio with 8 attires.
Because
you could have done something with that.
They used to do that. They used to be able, if you picked like Triple H, you could have Triple H in his normal ring attire, his DX attire, or in a suit.
Right.
You know, like you could do it just that way. Especially with like Undertaker, like alone, like he's gonna have like 5 different attires. You know, so like, but I could see that being like, maybe in one aspect being like, well, if you purchase this downloadable pack, you can get this Undertaker. Like, I can understand maybe one of those, but still, like, make it to where you can still pick them from, like, a list, not like, okay, Undertaker this one, flip, Undertaker this, flip, not, you know, that's just lazy to me.
Now, there's modes in this game as well, not other than just a showcase, but we obviously know Universe Mode is still a thing. Universe Mode has not gotten love in what seems like fucking forever, ever since they kind of introduced the mode. Universe Mode, and if you guys don't know what Universe Mode technically is, before, when WWE and the developers of these WWE games took out General Manager Mode in 2008 to make SmackDown vs. Raw 2009. Universe Mode didn't really technically came out until like in the SVR days. Like maybe I believe like it was either 2011 or WWE 12 was like the first appearance of it or whatever. But Universe Mode, in layman's terms, is GM mode with just less features. There's no WWE draft. But you can still run Raw and SmackDown, and you can make the shows whatever you want. It's just lesser features than GM mode. And then obviously GM mode, you have like your draft, you have the draft, you have a certain amount of money that you have to keep intact of. You run the shows, you make the matches, and everything of that nature. Universe mode has not gotten the love that it deserves for various reasons, whether that's just 2K being lazy or what have you. But Universe mode is back. We'll see what they do to it this year. But there is a different type of Universe mode that you can have in this year's game, where you can honestly pick a single superstar that you can technically play as, and you can go through their career, so to speak, in Universe mode, and you can have like a superstar mode inside GM mode. That's something different. That's something new. I'll check it out just to see what it's like. But honestly, I'm actually having a Universe mode draft with Olaf here later on this week, and we're actually going to be deciding my rosters for my version of the actual Universe mode. But hey, you got to make Universe mode fun for you. That's pretty much what it is. So have you seen this whole Universe mode aspect and what's going to be taking place for this?
No, I actually haven't. That really shows my age because I actually stopped playing the games after the Universe mode started to become a thing.
Okay.
I think 2009, SmackDown vs. Raw 2009 was like the last like video game I bought. And then besides that, I did like story modes or just, matches by themselves in the games. So I never really checked out Universe mode. That might be something I'll definitely check out if I do in fact get the game. Because it's not. I mean, the way that you brought it up kind of sounds interesting. So,
yeah. So I'm trying to find out where Universe mode kind of introduced itself. Let me see, SmackDown versus Raw 2010 menu. Let me see if it's just in the menu of 2010, and if we see it in 2010, then it got introduced in 2010. It did not. That was Road to WrestleMania, which they obviously could bring back as well. 2K, not just saying. I love Road to WrestleMania all the way back then. SmackDown vs. Raw 2011 was the first introduction of Universe mode, and they've had it ever since then. But yeah, it's kind of gotten some features here and there, and lost some features as well. They should have done GM mode like the Universe mode where you can control the roster with what edition you bought. Yeah. You have the GM mode now. GM mode now, like I said earlier, and like we were talking about, it's very limited to what it was back in 06, 07, and 08 when they had it. And here's some examples right now. In SVR 2006, 7, and 8, you had a budget of $10 million to draft your roster and to continue to run your shows. In SVR 2022, in this version of the game, we have 2.75 million.
That's very telling of like the product if you're gonna like offer that much money.
You draft 8 to 10 superstars for your starting roster. That's ridiculous.
And just even from like the screenshot that I saw on your TikTok, like Brock Lesnar alone is like almost $400,000.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
It like, and then like the next one after that's like 275. So if you want like good quality superstars, like you're gonna be paying a lot, but you're gonna probably maybe spend like money on to buy like maybe 3 tops, and then you're gonna buy a bunch of R-Truths kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like it's one of those things where it's like, at least with the $10 million, you could like get like a John Cena, Randy Orton, Edge, like the top people, and then get a couple of mid-carders that would fill out your roster. Now it just seems like they're kind of holding you and handicapping you to that degree.
Now, I was kind of taking a look back at the okay, yeah, and I also kind of want to mention this too, for you guys that are at least going to be trying to do GM mode this year. Simulating a card in my GM mode is going to be completely different than what the GM modes were in the past for. GM modes in the past for 06, 07, 08, you can play the matches, you can simulate the matches, and you can even watch them. Just do a computer versus computer. In this, you can do it as well, but if you simulate the matches, I'm playing my video back right now. It shows you like 1, 2, 3 of the match card. It shows you the winner of the match, and then it gives you a star rating based on how good or bad the match was. For this one with Bianca and Carmella, it got a 2.5 star match rating out of 5, and it shows you the winner. Now, let's say if you just played Carmella versus Bianca Belair, and let's say you have a goddamn 5-star classic with these two women, right? You go back to the main menu here of this match card, it won't show you that you had a 5-star match. It'll show you had like maybe a 2.5 star, maybe even 2-star match.
So what's
it won't count. It won't count.
What's the point of playing the match then?
Exactly. And then you come back and you can legitimately play out the entire card, and none of the star ratings that you'll actually earn will matter.
Really?
Because it's all computer based, and you have to try to beat your rival show. And by the way, you actually have to pick your rival show, which is completely not even realistic, but you pick your rival show, and based on the way you book things, not how you play it out, based on the way you book things, that's how it's decided on who wins that week.
Okay.
It makes no sense. It makes no sense. I'm going to try it out, but if it's not going to be like up to my standards of what a GM mode should be like, then I'm just going to do universal content from here on out, and I'm going to be bringing that to you guys on my Twitch, or if we even do make an Outside the Brand gaming channel, we'll bring that to you guys, because there's something about this GM mode that just does not click well with people, and you can totally see it just based on I'm just telling Anthony this for the first time, and even he is like, well, then what's the point of all of this? So yeah, it makes no sense.
Yeah, when you're not giving reasons for, because I mean, if you were to just simulate the matches, and you could have like a 2-star, you could have like a 4-star, and I mean, that's one thing, because then it's random. But then if you wanted to like play it to get like good ratings, to get maybe more people to watch your show, which is the whole point of GM mode anyway,
right?
Like, then it gives people a reason, and you get to be more interactive with it. But if you're going to have the same outcome regardless of doing it, it provides no reason for wanting to even do that. You could just simulate all the matches and just go to the next week.
Yep.
It makes no sense.
There are videos out there right now of there's a video made by Delzinski. Shout out to you. He did a video of 30 minutes of uncut footage of General Manager mode. So you can find that on YouTube. 30 minutes uncut footage. He did a draft. He pretty much did an entire month of GM mode in that one video. He did 2 weeks of GM mode in 10 minutes. And the draft. A draft, week 1 and week 2 of GM mode in a matter of those first 10 minutes of the video.
Jeez.
Like to me, like that, like if you can do 2 weeks and a draft in 10 minutes, you're not really trying to grab the player's attention if you can just go through week by week. And also, there's different types of tiers for this goddamn GM mode too, because you can actually play it for 15 weeks, half a year, or you can play it the full year up until WrestleMania. You have to pick. Between a list. You can pick your general manager, or you can create your own. You pick your roster. Like, it seems okay at first by just me talking about it, but then when you actually see gameplay of it, you're just, what is this? And Apex, I do want to answer your question. LA Knight and Grayson Waller are not in this game. And a lot of NXT people are not in this game. We could see some DLC packs, or if people that are not going to be into DLC packs, you'll have to look up them on community creations. It's just the way WWE did it this year. Out of there's 28 people from NXT that are in this game, and let me just tell you this right now: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's at least 6 of them in the 28 people that are not in NXT anymore or in WWE anymore. So, so there's something wrong with that as well. But at the end of the day, guys, WWE 2K22, we're here for it. We're going to see what happens. If we get the game, it's great. If we, we'll see what happens. And it's WWE 2K22. So we'll see what happens. I want to thank you. I want to thank you, my man, for at least being here for the full. We were here for 3 hours. I did not expect it to be this long. But I love that you're here for it all, and I just appreciate you coming on in.
Oh yeah, no, of course. It was great to talk some wrestling as always, especially different subjects. You know, like we talked about like a wide variety of different things. You know, from like just current superstars not being used, video game stuff, which I haven't talked about in forever. I've been seeing like everybody making TikTok content about 2K, and I just don't talk about it because I haven't really been involved in that scene for a really long time. But you know, you definitely also got me more interested in Revolution after talking about it more and looking over the card. So yeah, it's been a great night of talking.
All right, man. Thank you so much, and thank you, Apex, for subbing to the channel. I hope you stick around for a lot longer. I definitely have seen you in the chat before, but this is probably like my second or third time seeing you here. So I hope you stay with us a little bit longer. And yeah, man, we're going to be discussing AEW Dynamite tomorrow in a full show review. So be on the lookout for that. Thursdays is our off day unless WWE just does something crazy on Thursdays, which usually is the case. WWE just loves doing random things on Thursdays. And then we always have to come back here to talk about it or what have you. I mean, everything that happened with Cody Rhodes. That actually did happen on a Thursday, and everything kind of just went downhill from there. We don't know what the heck's happening with Cody Rhodes now, and we're just going to figure that out later on down the line. But Thursdays usually are off day unless WWE just says, yeah, you know what, screw you guys. You're going to have to do a podcast tonight. And then Friday for AEW Rampage and Friday Night SmackDown. Saturday we'll be here live and in person for our AEW Revolution preview and predictions. And then Sunday night, depending on if I'm actually going to be at a friend's house for Revolution or not, we'll still be here for an AEW Revolution post-show review. It's going to be a very, very busy week. It seems like everything when it comes to just WrestleMania weekend or just WrestleMania season in general, it's just going to be a crazy, crazy time. So we're going to be here, OTB, for life, man. But thank you for coming on in. Thank you guys for being here in the chat. And we'll talk to you guys very soon. Like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. Follow us on TikTok. Follow all of us on social medias. And we will talk to you guys very, very soon. Yeah, man. We'll talk to you guys soon. Have a good night. We'll see you tomorrow for AEW Dynamite. Peace. We the ones. We